days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
So we have breaking news. Raheem Mostert, 49ers former running back now, as he is taking his talents to South Beach to join the Miami Dolphins following Mike McDaniel. This was one of those ones that's going to be tough to take. This is something that was rumored, but with some of the signings that Miami had made along the way, you were kind of thinking maybe this wasn't going to happen. But unfortunately, it has happened, and Raheem Mostert is going to be on his way to Miami. And, right away, Bomber, he is already saying good. He is injury prone. Yeah, that's one of the big concerns with Raheem Mostert is the injuries, in fact. This is one of those things that is a big concern. I think the issue with it, though, is there is no more dynamic running back in this league than Raheem Mostert. The speed, the way he can just take the ball to the house is unmatched. So the 49ers are going to have to find a different way to come up with that sort of ability. I don't know what that is going to be. I mean, Elijah Mitchell is a very, very good running back. He's going to be able to do what you need to do. And you're right, Jan saying couldn't shell out $3 million. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think the price as well is one of those things that you're a little concerned about. The 49ers weren't willing to make that investment. It has to be somewhat what Bomber is saying. Injury prone. Maybe the 49ers were worried about the injuries, and so now they're letting Raheem Mostert go ahead and take his talents to South Beach and join Mike McDaniel there. Mike McDaniel obviously wasn't worried about it. Now he's got a nice 2 running back system going on there. So, I mean, this is the thing. Miami was always a possibility. You worry about Miami. You worry about New York, about, them coming from the 49ers organization, the coaches, and then looking to, grab the same sort of players. You're right, Bomber T. Kyle will develop a running back. Here's the issue. If you can't develop one that has the speed that Raheem Mostert has. They just don't exist. I mean, besides Matt Breida, I don't know if there's anyone that is at that speed in the NFL that plays the running back position. So you're going to have to find more unique ways. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Kyle Shanahan went ahead and put Deebo Samuel in the backfield is because of Raheem Mostert's loss. So, it's one of those things that you're going to lose that dynamic part of the offense. Now, what the 49ers do after this, though, is going to be important. Let's see how they address it in free agency or in the draft, because I don't think, as of right now, they'd be willing to go into a season with Elijah Mitchell, JaMychal Hasty, and Trey Sermon as the running back group. They're going to need to add to that. Are they going to add it in free agency? Let us know in chat what you think. They're going to add it in free agency. Is this now the time that they're going to go for a Cordarrelle Patterson? Are they going to add Marlon Mack? Are they going to go for a Phillip Lindsay? Those guys are available. Or is it now time for them to turn attention to the running back room in the draft? There are a couple guys in the draft that are 4-3 and better, that are guys that were thought to be day 3 guys, but they're not day 3 guys. So this is something to watch. This is something now that the 49ers are going to have to do. SL Million says, Dolphins a gym. Yeah. Abel says, I don't think Raheem's exit will be a huge problem. He didn't even play last year, and Mitchell is a beast, but we'll need backups besides Debo. We'll run Debo into the ground. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Debo is having to play the dual role. I don't foresee them expecting to have Debo Samuel, play that dual role and play, those 2 types of situations. So I do think that they're going to need to balance this room and build this room. So we're going to see how it happens now, because I think Raheem Mostert was somebody that a lot of us were targeting, as a real possibility to add to the team. And now he's not going to be, on this roster. So now you got to figure out what they're going to do after that. So yeah, we got some interesting things happening already for the 49ers today. They make a under the radar signing on the defensive line. And, now they lose, what could be the most dynamic offensive running back in the league. And I say dynamic in the fact that the speed is just completely unmatched. And other than that, I mean, you can find running backs that are really good in this league. And Kyle Shanahan has developed a lot of running backs, and Bobby Turner has developed a lot of running backs, but Bobby Turner's not there now. So you're going to have Anthony Lynn that's going to be working in the running back room, and he's going to have one less dynamic piece to use. the $3 million I thought would have been something the 49ers would have been willing to do. So, yeah. So this is gonna be something to talk about for a while now, is what the 49ers do in the running back room, because now there's a hole there. So yeah, this is something that we got to talk about. Everyone, let us know what you guys think right now in the comments. Who would you go after in free agency? I see Bomber T saying free agency, very true. Where would you guys go for running back in free agency? Let us know who that is going to be. And then also, if it's a draft guy, if it's a player in the draft, let us know who that draft player is going to be. Let's see what else we got. We know Alex says he's here. Alex is going to come in at any moment. He'll be joining us. So that'll be good. We'll be able to go with both of them, or with Alex and me in a minute. So that'll be nice. Yeah, Android user says, say hey, Alex, Asania. So when Alex is ready to roll, we'll both be on air. Alex, go ahead and come in. Alex is entering the studio right now. So we're gonna be going to both of us here in a moment. But then he's gonna get to add his take on this thing. So this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna send you guys to a black screen for 1 second, because we're gonna play the old switcheroo, and then we'll get right back to it.
Oh my goodness gracious. Hey, Cutback crew, what's up? I didn't mean to actually switch over to me early, but hey, I did. I switched back over to me early. Look, Ant, talk about crazy, right? This is nuts, dude. This is absolutely crazy. Raheem Mostert going bye. See you later. Sayonara. Not so much. Not so fast. I know that the tweet and the stuff that came out said, right, it was 1 year, $3.125 million.
Right.
Has it officially been signed, or is they just reporting? Because I'm wondering, we've seen some guys flip, right? We've seen guys talk about signing with the team and then flip. Is there any? Do you foresee any possibility where that could happen, or is this just a done deal at this point? And he's in Miami, he's in South Beach, he's pulled a LeBron James.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna flip. I really don't. I don't think Mostert's that kind of guy. But I mean, it really does look like this is.
Is the end of Raheem Mostert in San Francisco?
It looks like it is. I mean, and Raheem Mostert was, getting $3 million. So good up to his agent for getting him that money, Alex. I mean, that's pretty
absolutely good. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what the guaranteed money is in that contract. Absolutely.
Yeah, I see Ralph saying Saquon would be a perfect swap. Would the 49ers take on $7 million if they weren't willing to pay $3 million for Raheem? Both players are injured a lot. Saquon is a different style of running back. Definitely not as fast as Raheem Mostert. More shifty than Raheem Mostert.
Accurate.
But would you be willing to make that sort of move?
Possibly, but here's the thing. You said Cordarrelle Patterson. Ralph, that's not his name. That's Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson is now, I think Cordero Patterson's in play. The question is just money. All of this is going to come down to money at this point. The Niners have shown that running back is not a position they like to spend capital on, spend money on. They tend to draft and go after, bargain basement type guys, and Shanahan makes it work with the guys that he brings in. At the end of the day, Saquon, as much as everyone would love that, the $7 million cap hit that it's going to be for him is a lot.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a lot for a guy like him. And we know it's about a 4th or 5th round pick is ideally what the market value is set at. So while that's not expensive, you're going to be getting him in on a contract that's expensive. Cordero Patterson, if it's right, the market value is supposed to be $9 million. If Raheem Mostert is getting $3 million, it's got to be close to that for Cordero Patterson. Now you're getting closer to that $9 million range of where it's probably going to be, just because he's been more available.
I think the 49ers are going to go bargain basement. I do.
I agree.
I think now you're starting to look for Marlon Mack, Phillip Lindsay, and then the draft. I think those are possibilities. I'm sure there's other running backs as well that they'd be interested in, but it appears the 49ers weren't willing to. They kind of made the shift last year where it was like, we can't have oft-injured players on this football team anymore. Jalen Hurd, you're cut in the middle of the season. And now it appears that Raheem Mostert's going to be gone. They probably just weren't willing to go that high to the $3 million range. Or maybe it's as easy as Raheem Mostert wanted to go see what it was like to play in Miami. $3.1 million goes a lot farther playing in Florida than it does in California. $3.1 million in California is not $3.1 million. So, no. Because they'll go ahead and tax you for your future earnings as well. So,
true.
It's crazy. I did not expect Raheem Mostert to be gone after we seen the signings that had been made, by Miami. Miami they have 2 fullbacks. They have, are adding all kinds of running back help with Chase Edmonds. I just didn't think that this was something they were going to do, but they did it.
They 100% did it. They did do it. Abel asked, did the Niners cut Trey Sermon? They did not cut Trey Sermon. He believes he has a high ceiling if we develop him. The problem is with Sermon and developing, right, and having to wait on him. He was a 3rd-round pick. Elijah Mitchell's already developed. He's developed into the guy that's RB1.
Well, I think the problem too with Trey Sermon is, Trey Sermon might be a good running back. He's different than Raheem Mostert.
True.
You no longer have a player on your roster that is dynamic like Raheem Mostert. Elijah Mitchell is a hybrid between Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert.
Correct.
He doesn't have that elite speed.
Accurate.
So he's not going to break the long touchdowns. He's not going to take plays that shouldn't have worked and make them work on the outside. That's just not what he does. So it's a little bit of a different dynamic now in the running back room.
It's very true. It is. It is 100% the case. Look, I'm stunned by this. I'm shocked by this. I did not expect Miami to pull the trigger on this after the Chase Edmonds signing and the money they paid him. I wasn't expecting them to add another guy into the room, and they just did. Mike McDaniels is poaching San Francisco 49ers, as is Robert Saleh. Both of them have been poaching San Francisco 49ers, and I just saw it there from Derbagger 22. Philip Lindsay, 100% an option. Frank Gore, not an option, Ralph, but Derbagger, Philip Lindsay, is 100% an option. A guy who's quick, shifty. I think you and I both originally thought upgrade over potential JaMychal Hasty, but they may be just doing that for speed aspect now and getting someone in who can stretch the outside zone.
It all depends. I mean, if Raheem Mostert was going to cost $3.1 million, if there's a chance that you could bring in Marlon Mack and Philip Lindsay for the same amount of money, but get both of them, then I'll be okay with it, because I think Philip Lindsay is that dynamic back that you need. And I think you have to have one of those explosive guys. Kyle Shanahan has definitely proven that he needs an explosive player in his backfield. Maybe it's Cordero Patterson. I think he's someone to watch because the Niners are interested in him. If it's free agency, those are the guys: Cordero Patterson, Philip Lindsay, and Marlon Mack that I think are the most obvious choices. You would have questions about Mack's injury history. The only thing I look at is he's a younger guy who has a lot of upside because he's already rushed for over 1,000 yards in this league. And anytime that you prove that you can do that, you got to be on people's radars. And the fact that he's not very high sought after means you could probably get him for an affordable contract. So yeah, I would definitely be interested in Marlon Mack. But I think Philip Lindsay is actually the perfect fit for what Kyle Shanahan likes to do in this outside zone run game.
He is. He's actually kind of I think he's one of those guys who would benefit most from a Shanahan pairing, Anton coming into San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. I think it actually could, catapult him and launch him. Tariq Cohen is another one to keep an eye out on as well, because he's going to be a bargain basement. The only problem is he's been dealing with injury. And so if you've been dealing with injury, that's going to be a tough sell and a difficult sell. Jan Stewart says, trade Jimmy to Cleveland for Chubb. Straight across the board. There's no way they'd be giving up on Nick Chubb.
No, you'd be sending Jimmy Garoppolo and a pick. Or
and
picks.
A high pick. Probably 2 high picks.
And picks, to get.
Yeah, true. Can't stop Nick. Dolphins fan here. Basically, everyone in the Dolphins front office knew Mostert was Miami bound. It made too much sense to come down with McDaniel. It does make too much sense to come down with McDaniels. This is the team we thought was the biggest contender with San Francisco to bring this guy back in. When you made the move for, why am I blanking now on Chase Edmonds? I don't know why I just blanked on Chase Edmonds.
Always do, because it's not that impactful.
Well, I mean, it was about 3 years, $7 million per year as well, I think is what the contract was. It's a good chunk of money. But when you guys made that play for Chase Edmonds, no part of me thought that, Raheem Mostert was something that was an option for you guys anymore. I thought you were going to go a different direction.
I did too.
Mike McDaniel says, not so fast. Not so fast. This is the option. This is exactly what we want. This is exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, 2 fullbacks, 2 running backs. Gesicki is the tight end. He's gonna build the offense the way he wants to build, and it's gonna be very similar to the way the 49ers have ran offense throughout the years. So I mean, Miami's gonna go turn it around, and Raheem Mostert's gonna be a big reason why. I'm sure living in Florida had a lot to do with that as well. I'm just surprised that he was willing to leave the 49ers, unless one of 2 things. Number 1, they didn't want him, which is a possibility.
100% a possibility.
Or number 2, they just completely lowballed him, and he wasn't willing to go for basically a minimum contract, which we know they'll do because they do set value, and they might have said, hey, you need to prove that you're healthy. He wasn't willing to do that. So we'll see if they go a different route. And if they do go a different route, what's that going to be? Free agency, draft? I would tend to think it's going to be a little bit of both. They'll probably sign at least 1 free agent running back, and then they'll probably, grab someone in the draft as well, since they are going to have 9 selections throughout the draft. And there's some guys that are very fast that are, going to be late round picks. Probably now they ran so fast, mid-round picks. But you're talking 5th, 6th, one of those 6-round compensatory picks. You could probably pick up one of these running backs that could run 4.3 plus.
You definitely can, Ant. You definitely can. It's a frustrating situation indeed. Jorge Zamudo just said, bring Julio Jones in, big target in the red zone. It would be a huge upgrade at wide receiver 3, I believe. You're bringing in Julio Jones over a potential Juwan Jennings. Not to say there's anything wrong with Juwan Jennings, but just what Julio Jones would add to your room. Here's the thing, too, with the injury history with Julio now the past 3-4 seasons, with him basically not being able to get it through a whole season healthy, you got to imagine that number's going to be a lot lower.
I think it all depends on where Julio is mindset-wise.
Okay.
I mean, is he going for a ring? If he's going for a ring, you might be able to get this guy super cheap. And if you're able to get him super cheap because Kyle has such a great relationship with him, you're going to do it. You wonder, though, Mike McDaniel was in Atlanta. Mike McDaniel knows Julio Jones.
They could be all in on that.
I wouldn't put it past him going for him either. The difference is Julio Jones was an MVP caliber player when he played for Kyle Shanahan. If Kyle Shanahan believes that he can benefit this roster, he would go. He was willing to bring in Mohamed Sanu. And Mohamed Sanu is definitely not the level of Julio Jones. Julio Jones, though, he didn't have a big year in Tennessee, only 400 yards. But in San Francisco, he's not playing with I know it's A.J. Brown, but besides that, they don't have the kind of weapons that they have in San Francisco. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. It would be a dynamic group. If Juwan Jennings is your 4th receiver, that's an absolutely dynamic, really dynamic group. And if you were able to bring in one speed receiver, your wide receiver group is the best wide receiver group you've had in a really long time. And I think you have to do that. You have to go all in. I don't know if it'll be Julio Jones. I'm just saying going all in on making sure you get another really good receiver to go with the 3 guys you already have. Possible.
And Baymack just said, it's good. Mostert is gone. Kyle will be forced to play Sermon now. Don't hold your breath, Baymack. Don't hold your breath, man. If you think that's the reason why he was not playing last year, keep in mind, Mostert wasn't healthy all season, and Sermon still wasn't playing. Raheem Mostert is not the reason that Trey Sermon was not playing. Trey Sermon is the reason Trey Sermon was not playing.
Well, I just don't know how Trey Sermon fits the role of what Raheem Mostert did. Raheem Mostert was a dynamic running back who ran the outside zone. Trey Sermon's not that guy. Raheem Mostert's a one-cut, get-up-the-hole-and-go guy at an elite speed. Trey Sermon's not that guy. Trey Sermon, he's got to figure out how to run in this scheme. I think that Sermon, could be a good player for the 49ers if he continues to develop, but it's not the Raheem Mostert role. So now that they're looking for a running back, they need to find someone that fits that role. They had Matt Breida. Raheem Mostert made Matt Breida expendable. They got rid of him. Now that Raheem Mostert's gone, they don't have that guy. Because Elijah Mitchell, even though he ran a 4.3 at his pro day, is not a 4.3. He's a 4.4 guy and a high 4.4 guy. He's good enough. He's fast. He reads holes fantastically. But they need a guy that can definitely stretch on the outside zone and that can pop and make explosive plays. And right now, they don't have that guy on the roster.
No, right. You need a guy who's going to take those 20-plus yard runs that Elijah Mitchell just put on film last year and did for the San Francisco 49ers and turn those into home runs and hole shots and explosive touchdown plays. That's what you're looking for. A guy who can take, 5 or 10 of those carries and turn them into, 70, 60-yard touchdown runs and, field flippers. He was big for chunk plays, and he led the league in 20-plus yard runs, which is absolutely great. But you need that speed in this run game. That speed takes it to a whole nother level and allows you to do a lot of different things with your play action. It also forces teams to have to continue playing in the box and committing to that run and knowing that, right, at any point in time, if you don't have safeties and corners who can come up in space and tackle, you're in trouble defensively, because if the Niners are able to get through second level and get up into third level open space without being touched with that speed, you're talking about touchdowns. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I seen someone asking in chat if Jeff Gladney had signed. I do not see that Jeff Gladney had signed. I haven't seen anything official yet.
Arizona was reported to have met with him and possibly be signing him. But I don't know if it was official.
No, I knew that they were meeting with him. I know they were going to meet with him, but I haven't seen anything official that says he is going to sign with Arizona. That could be happening here pretty soon.
And that's an interesting situation in and of itself. And what about Austin Hooper to pair with Kittle? I love Lindsey, the 49ers. I would bring Breida back as well. What do you all think? Todd, look, at the end of the day, Breida makes sense because he's been a San Francisco 49er. He knows the system. He understands the system. He's had success. It's really the only system he's had success in as a running back. So Breida might be going, hey, you guys want to give me a minimum contract? Yeah, I'll come back. I've had success here. I feel like he can do something here. And I think Lindsey is a great option. Hooper makes sense. Very familiar with Kyle Shanahan, very familiar with the system. I don't expect that to not happen. I think that's 100% a possibility. But I think right now there's also a lot of potential tight end options on the market. I think the Niners are going to go through all of them. It also looks like right now the Niners aren't really in a hurry at the moment to sign anybody. It just doesn't feel that way. They are definitely letting things play out and definitely taking their time. And I know as frustrating as that is, at the end of the day, right, we were a team that just was in the NFC Championship game. And Ant, let's not forget that there were a lot of people saying the Niners would be winning a Super Bowl if he had just moved to Trey Lance. So if that were the case, all right, if you truly believe that, then the Niners sitting pat on the roster they have, adding depth, filling out depth, and really trying to build this team with the right pieces around Trey Lance kind of makes the most sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's when it comes down to some of these signings, it's going to be about money. Hooper, Jones, any of these running backs that we're talking about, the 49ers are going to look for guys that, fit what they want to do, but that are at a cheaper price. And then they put value by position. So if you're a running back, for instance, you might not carry the same value as, another position that Kyle Shanahan wants to use on his offense. We know that there's values all throughout it. Left tackle is a very high value position, and so is right tackle. Quarterback, of course. Running back falls way down the list. They just proved that they could go get a 6th-round pick, and develop him into a good player. Raheem Mostert was undrafted. Matt Breida was undrafted. Jeff Wilson Jr. undrafted. There is a common theme here. That's why I think it would be more of a bargain basement kind of guy. JaMychal Hasty, undrafted. So this is just what the 49ers do. They don't put as much value on a running back. That's why it was so surprising when they drafted Trey Sermon in the 3rd round. It was out of character for them. It's not something they normally do. They must have believed he could turn into something in their offense, or they believed when he paired with Trey Lance, it would give them some sort of dynamic effect. It hasn't come to fruition yet. It could still. But I think they do need to address the running back room now. Raheem Mostert leaving does leave a void. And, I get it. He's injured, and he was injured a lot. And those 2 seasons were big because if he was healthy, I do believe this offense would have been next level. So maybe the 49ers have just decided they found another player they value more than him. I don't think they're going to go out and pay a lot, but they've been involved in the Le'Veon Bell talks before. So to say that they're not involved in a Cordero Patterson, a Christian McCaffrey, I don't think they'll take that cap hit.
God, it's such a big cap
or a
hit.
Saquon Barkley. To say that they wouldn't be interested in one of those moves, I think would, maybe be out there, but I do think it'll be bargain basement.
Very true. I think it's going to be bargain basement as well.
Yeah.
I think that is the reality of the situation in the running back room. And, I don't want to say that the Niners are down on Trey Sermon, but the Niners may also be looking at what just happened with Trey Sermon and going up and drafting a guy in that 3rd round, watching it not pan out. What happened?
Mr. Corey said, Mostert was brought in under Chip Kelly and not Kyle. That is correct.
Correct.
But you know what he didn't do under Chip Kelly?
Anything offensively.
Become a good running back. He didn't until he got under Bobby Turner and played it for Kyle Shanahan in that system. You're right. Chip Kelly brought him in because he played him on special teams.
Because he was in Philly and was a big special teams role in Philadelphia. Chip Kelly brought him in for the same role in San Francisco for a special teams guy, a specialist. Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner are the ones who took Raheem Mostert and turned him into an undrafted free agent who had been bouncing around the league and was one of those guys that you hear about, right, having the short NFL careers, 4 or 5 years in the league, and then you're no longer useful because you don't develop as a running back. All you can contribute to a team is special teams, and at some point, teams run out of that. Teams run out of room and space for that in the league because you're looking for guys who add more than just one aspect. Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner took what was Raheem Mostert's potential and shot it sky high.
Yeah, I remember listening to to them talk about the time that Kyle Shanahan had a meeting with Raheem Mostert, and he was like, "Do you want to run the football for me? Do you want to run the ball in the league? Yeah. Well, then go out there and get it done." Like it was kind of one of those moments, like, "Hey, do you want to be a special teamer for the rest of your life? You need to get this thing going." So, he did develop under Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner. But now he's going to be, playing for McDaniel. McDaniel's a genius when it comes to the run game. I fully expect Raheem Mostert to have himself a big year. I think playing, in that system is going to be good for him, and he's going to be good for the locker room there in Miami. That was a nice signing by them. But unfortunately for the 49ers, they're losing a dynamic player, and what you have to do is find a way to replace it. And if it ends up being a better option, that's great. If you end up finding someone that can, do similar things or be able to be an explosive player, like a Patterson, for instance, that can play running back and wide receiver, I'd be okay with that. But maybe they're okay with Elijah Mitchell being that guy. But I just feel like we notice what would happen when you lose like Mostert to injury and you don't have a guy that can consistently get it done.
Who was good under Chip Kelly, and he was still a special teamer until under Kyle until Tevin Coleman got injured. Look, you can say under Kyle he wasn't important. Under Kyle he didn't develop. He only developed because he got a shot because someone got hurt. Here's the thing.
That just make the point?
Oh, that's exactly the point, right? Once he got the opportunity, he seized it and ran with it, and broke records in the NFC title game, did a bunch of things. I mean, if it wasn't for Raheem Mostert in the playoffs, the Niners don't dominate the way they did all the way up through until the Super Bowl. So at the end of the day, your point may stand in terms of he was nothing. He was really nothing, and Chip Kelly should deserve some credit. The reality is he didn't do anything until Kyle Shanahan got there, and once the opportunity presented itself, right, he took advantage of the situation.
I think Chip Kelly bringing him to San Francisco is great. I think you can recognize that, Chip Kelly understood that he had some dynamic ability, but Chip Kelly didn't get to develop him, and Chip Kelly was there only a year. Whether you think that's fair or not, I don't know. But Mostert did develop under Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner. I think a lot of it's Bobby Turner. The guy's attention to detail is next level.
It's phenomenal.
But Raheem Mostert fits in the scheme, and he's going to fit in the scheme in Miami. So now Raheem Mostert, he's going to be gone, and the 49ers are going to have to move on. And what that running back room looks like is really going to be determined over the next couple days and working into the draft. Because if they don't sign a running back, then we know all eyes point to the draft, and then it's a need. And I think it is a need because I don't think you go into the season, with the young cast that you have between Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, and JaMychal Hasty. At least I don't feel confident in that room. If they bring back Jeff Wilson Jr., I'd feel a little bit better. I still think you need a more dynamic player. I don't even think Matt Breida is that guy. I think Breida I would bring back, but only if he was like the fourth or fifth guy, coming in to compete in the 90-man roster.
If Breida is your potential JaMychal Hasty replacement, maybe I feel better. Maybe. I mean, listen, I'm not confident. I don't love this room right now. I would have liked this room a whole heck of a lot if you brought Raheem Mostert back. I don't love this room right now. There's some things I like about it, and there's some things I don't like about it. I'm not confident and set with this room. The further that we get into free agency now without signing a running back, the more running back becomes a need for the San Francisco 49ers.
I think the only thing we know for sure is we have Elijah Mitchell.
That's true.
Jeff Wilson Jr. is not under contract. JaMychal Hasty's a third down back, and that's it. And then Trey Sermon is what? We don't know yet. He hasn't developed, so we haven't got to see it yet. It's kind of the questions that everyone has with offensive line, right? Where's Aaron Banks at? We don't know what Aaron Banks' development is going to be, so we have to kind of trust the front office and coaches. But we do know Trey Sermon in this aspect is a different kind of player than Raheem Mostert.
Accurate.
And the one thing we can say is when we saw this offense in the past, when they didn't have an explosive speed guy, the offense didn't operate as well as it possibly could. So finding another avenue to go is something they're going to have to do, or they're going to have to rely on Deebo Samuel to get it done in the backfield again.
It's true. Any draft prospects for running back that Kyle could have his eye on? There's a handful. There's always going to be a handful of guys. The big problem, I think, for the both of us is that a lot of the guys we like may go early, right? Early in the second, mid-second. But there are some guys. The problem is that the Niners have shown typically in the past that drafting running backs early is not something that you do. And you just drafted Trey Sermon in the third round. So, I mean, Ant, do you think of the draft prospect that you like so far, is there anyone that you think the Niners would look at in the fifth round, sixth round, somewhere in there that could be a steal?
Yeah, I think there's guys. I mean, okay. I do think there's guys. It's just, when it comes down to it, you don't know how much these guys are going to jump up boards. You know what I mean?
JLA, I don't know about Kyron Williams, man. He was slow. He
definitely doesn't fit the speed void.
No, and you're trying to fill the speed void at this point.
Yeah, let me get into my running back notes too.
Mr. Corey here says, you guys are completely misreading me. 1, I think it was stupid AF to let Mostert leave. I wanted him back more than Tomlinson. 2, I'm just saying Kyle doesn't get all the credit for him.
I agree with you, Mr. Fair. Corey. I'm with you on that 100% then. Mr. Corey, the way you said it right there, we're on the same page.
Definitely on the same page with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's running backs in this draft that, that they could get. Now, the later is going to be a little bit of the issue. I think there's some guys that ran really fast and stuff like that.
Jeez, payback. We need Elijah to take some steroids, but be smart with it. Dude would be a monster if he did.
Yeah, here's a fast guy. Here's a fast guy that they could possibly get. He's going to be a later round guy. Isaiah Pacheco.
Yes.
5'10", 213 pounds from Rutgers. The things I liked about him was his speed, his vision, elusiveness, balance, and he's a good pass catcher. So that's somebody to keep an eye on. I believe there's another guy, something strong. I'm going blank on his name.
I'm blanking on the first name. I know who you're talking about.
Those two guys really ran at a high rate, and I don't have him right here on my list in front of me. But to me, Isaiah Pacheco was somebody that I liked watching. I always looked at him as a late round pick. I don't think he's going to come in though and fit the Mostert role.
Okay,
I think he's more of an Elijah Mitchell style of running back as well. Just he's kind of like physical, but I don't think he's as smooth as Elijah Mitchell either.
Oh.
That's one of the worries about getting somebody late in the draft.
Okay, Ant, here we go. Bomber T just said it. He just said something that 49ers fans are going to probably start discussing. I imagine this is going to be a talking point here pretty soon. Make Deebo a running back full-time and draft another wide receiver.
Here's why it won't happen. Deebo Samuel is not going to want running back money.
No.
And you're not going to pay a running back $20+ million to play running back. So he's not going to go with the change. That's why when they asked him, he said he's a wide back. And then after the season was over, he said he's a wide receiver who can also play running back. There's absolutely no way. Could he be one of the top running backs? Yes. There's not as much value play. Why do you think Jalen Hurts switched from running back to wide receiver so he could try to make more money? I know it didn't work out for him. I'm just saying
accurate.
The move from wide receiver to running back, like Cordell Patterson, you do lose the amount of money that you're going to make.
You definitely do. Look, and at the end of the day, too, I've said this before. There's a reason why it's wide back and not back receiver. He's not a back receiver, right? He's not a running wide out. He is a wide back. He's a wide receiver first, a running back second. That's how they're going to try and use him. And Jose Torres, welcome to the Cutback crew. Thank you for the subscription, man.
Yeah, welcome, Jose.
Welcome, man. We really appreciate the support. All of you who have been commenting, liking, sharing the video, subscribing to the channel as well. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining this channel, joining this community, and engaging with us in conversation. Because at the end of the day, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a conversation with this community, with the faithful, about what's going on with this team, and look, everything is on the table to discuss. We want to discuss all of these things. These are tough things that are happening for San Francisco right now. Losing some of the names that we have lost. Mostert is not an easy loss, but there are options. There's ways to mitigate this turmoil and to mitigate this loss.
Yeah, I mean, just what is that avenue going to be? That's
the question.
There's a ton of free agent running backs that are going to be available. We kind of talked a little bit about the draft ones, but there's ones I have on my list for running backs as well. And and I can get into some of those as well. But yeah, I mean the Niners. I mean, we know McKissick's gone, so he's not. Coleman's gone. The guys who fit the system that are left possibly are Marlon Mack, Phillip Lindsay. Those were kind of the Cordero Patterson. I mean, those are literally the guys I had on the list.
Those are the three main names.
Those are the three main names, and beyond that, I mean, maybe they have somebody. I think if they, I mean, they're not looking for a third down back. That's one thing they're not doing. Would you be surprised if they rolled into the season with Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, JaMychal Hasty as the three guys, and then drafted a running back?
I would be shocked, Ant.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would be shocked. I think that would be the most. That shocks me more than them paying Charvarius Ward.
Yeah.
Like, it really would. If there's no running back move that is made, I would be absolutely stunned, which means they either dropped the ball in free agency or they are confident that Trey Sermon is ready to be the guy to step up in a big way. And they're just looking to replace some of the speed with Raheem Mostert in the draft. I mean, that is the only way that I would feel comfortable with that. And guess what? As a fan, there's no way you can be truly comfortable with that because you haven't seen that out of Trey Sermon to be like, we're good this year. Look, there's potential, yes, but we haven't seen that potential translate into anything on the field for the 49ers.
Yeah, and then we right here, Jorge is saying,
what does Cordell Patterson's money look like?
Yeah, what does his money look like? I think his money is going down a little bit. PFF had him valued at $9 million a year, and there was just no market for him apparently, and not at $9 million a year. The one thing we know is Kyle Shanahan said literally during this season before they played Atlanta that he's been trying to get Cordero Patterson on his team for years now. He sees him as a potential player that would fit the things that he wants to do. So, I think you keep an eye on it. Now, I wonder also if there's other running backs, that are going to be available via trade that they could possibly go at.
Possibly.
How comfortable do you think that Travis Etienne feels in Jacksonville? Could he be somebody that's on the market? You have, of course, other players, like Saquon Barkley, we've heard mentioned, Christian McCaffrey, of course, but the 49ers wouldn't give up a 1 for Christian McCaffrey and then eat that money. So I kind of put him off the list. So I think there's options. What about, what's his name that was running up there in Seattle? I know he's often hurt.
Carson?
No, the one that went to San Diego or whatever. Perryman, right?
Is it Perryman?
I don't remember. I'm going blank on his name. Somebody throw it in the chat because I went blank on his name.
I'm blanking on his name right now too. I'm not sure which guy that is, Ant. I'm blanking right now. I'm gonna try and pull up some names there in those types of situations. What the 49ers could be doing and what they could be looking at. But there really isn't. I mean, if we're looking, we're talking about Penny.
Penny, there we go. Rashad Penny.
There
we go. Thank you.
I got you. There we go. Look at that. One click of the name, Ant, and I got it.
Yeah,
for you.
Thank you. I appreciate
but
that.
Rashad Penny showed some flashes last year at the end of the year for Seattle.
Yeah, Jay Ellie was on it, by the way.
Look at that.
Way to go, Jay Ellie.
Look at Jay Ellie on top of it. Jorge on top of it. Look at y'all. Proud of y'all. Look at you getting business done there. But there really isn't a whole lot of other names, right? You get the Marlon Macks of the world that are going to be available. We just talked about those. J.D. McKissick is off the market. Here's the only good news right now, as of this moment, Spot Track and a couple of these places don't actually have Mostert's contract up and available, meaning as of right now, at this specific time, he hasn't officially signed yet.
Of course he hasn't. He agreed to terms, Alex. He's going to sign when he gets to South Beach and signs.
I agree with you.
This is going to happen. Raheem Mostert
can someone intercept the plane and turn it around?
Yeah, I mean, through history, right? We've had Frank Gore, who once flipped and went to another team.
It's true.
Anthony Barr did it, and then we had two this year: Randy Gregory and J.D. McKissick.
It's true.
So it does happen occasionally.
It does.
I do not expect it to happen in the case of Raheem Mostert. He would not do that to Mike McDaniel, number one.
No.
Plus, he's an upstanding person, so he wouldn't do it to the 49ers in general.
Could we see a reunited 49ers and Wayne Gallman? He's available again.
Always possibility. I mean, but once again, does he fit the role that you're looking for?
No.
He could come in and replace the Jeff Wilson role.
Possibly that, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's good around the goal line. He's one of those guys that's good at running on the inside. I think the 49ers did have a plan to shift to more of a bully ball and run in the interior, but I think they always felt that Aaron Banks and Trey Sermon were going to do that. That's why they got Gallman. Gallman was going to fill the Jeff Wilson role, and they were going to run up inside. And I think that Aaron Banks wasn't ready. Trey Sermon wasn't ready, and they're like, oh, we better go back to what we were going to do. And that means a lot of gap scheme and then outside zone. And they ran a lot of toss this year. I mean, it was a lot of toss. So I think that that's something they need to continue to do. They got to keep these guys staying disciplined on the edge. But they also need to attack up the middle. But a run game is going to be very important for Trey Lance this year. That's why a dynamic player like Raheem Mostert was so, enticing to the 49ers offense, because then it could keep people honest.
True. Very true. Megan says, what about Hyde? Carlos Hyde doesn't fit what you're trying to replace either in that running back room, I don't believe. So I don't think that's a possibility. Sir Juju says, sign Gore 1 year, third down back, or is it too late? I don't think that's too late. You're not looking for that. You're looking for explosivity. You're looking for someone that's going to be the big home run play type guy, right?
Frank Gore?
Yeah, Frank Gore's not that.
It's too late. He's done.
He's just done retired. You think he's just...
No one signed him. Whole entire season. He went an entire season without being signed. Even when the 49ers had all the injuries, they did not go to Frank Gore.
It's true.
No, I think Frank Gore is officially done. And then he wouldn't be a third down back. He's not at this point in his career. He's just not going to, he'd be a goal line specialist, and that's about it. And I just don't think it's there. I love Frank, but I think, I think Bill Walsh would have already told him.
We already said that. We said this all last year, that it just didn't make sense to bring Frank Gore back in any sort of capacity whatsoever. And I don't expect that to be the case. I expect the Niners to look for a more explosive back, someone who can be a little bit more explosive. And guess what, Ant? There's a handful of those guys in the market, but those guys aren't a dime a dozen, which is why we thought Raheem Mostert was going to be a priority. Not a priority. The opposite of a priority. The Niners are not bringing him back. They didn't want to match the $3 million contract. They even probably want to get close to it. I imagine they were looking to use a veteran exception salary on him.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, they really do try to hit guys with bargain basement type deals. And, maybe Raheem Mostert was insulted by that or didn't want that. Kyle Shanahan made sure he got extra money, a couple of years ago after the 2019 season. So, yeah, and, I've seen some comments. You're right. You're not going to run up the middle. I think Mr. Sweden said that. You're not going to run up the middle with Daniel Brunskill. And I think that's the point. They thought Banks was going to be the guy, that Banks would come in and beat out Brunskill, and the development wasn't there. He wasn't able to do it.
Android user, don't give us reason and logic. We just need to sign Gore. I love it.
Okay, Sir Juju says that's what I meant. Well,
okay,
we're on the same page then.
Perfect. Everyone's on the same page. That's great.
Yeah.
Todd said, love Saquon Barkley of the Niners, but he's asked this a couple times now, and I skipped over him because there's so much going on, Todd. I apologize. How much money would it take to extend Bosa and Debo? Look, at the end of the day, Debo is going to be probably in that $20-25 million range, somewhere in there per year. Bosa is going to be more than that, probably 25 to 30, maybe even more than $30 million a year. But here's the thing. Debo is the one that's the priority. That's the one that's going to happen first. It's not going to happen until closer to training camp. That's been the Niners' MO with all of their re-signing and extensions of guys. They wait until closer to training camp, getting into training camp before that happens. Bosa still has another year before you have to pull the trigger and sign that. So they may be waiting another year before they even do something with Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I think they could wait a year. And I think the Debo Samuel is going to be the most important. It'll probably happen before training camp. But you're looking at probably $21-22 million a year for Debo Samuel. And then right now, the going rate for an edge rusher at Nick Bosa's level is closer to $30 million. And that's what his brother got. That's what Khalil Mack is getting paid. So I think that Nick Bosa is going to come really close to $30 million. So between the two of them, $52 million a year. So the salary cap's supposed to take a huge spike in 2023.
Accurate.
That might be why you're waiting to sign Nick Bosa, but you definitely want to get Deebo Samuel under contract. You don't want to, go through the year, but if you have to, you can, and you can just, use the franchise tag on him during the offseason. So that is always a route they could go and buy themselves an extra year. But I think they're going to want to get Deebo done. I think they would like to get Nick Bosa done. I just don't think that one gets done this year. I think they wait. They exercise his 5th-year option in May and then negotiated with them after the 2022 season.
That makes the most sense, in all honesty. That's kind of where my head's at as well, Ant. NYCE said, I would think Melvin Gordon, he's available, and we have his old coach on staff already. The problem is they did not get along. You got to remember, Gordon held out, and Anthony Lynn was not very happy with Melvin Gordon and what he was doing and was very vocal about his support for Austin Eckler, and even when Gordon came back, wasn't willing to turn back to Melvin Gordon and stuck with Austin Eckler. They might not actually have that great of a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one. I think really what it came down to with Gordon, though, he wanted money.
He wanted to get paid.
I mean, he wanted money, and so, I mean, that happens sometimes. The one thing I'll say is 49ers players are starting to react to Raheem Mostert. Trent Williams and them are, pretty upset that Mostert has left. And now the talking points, Alex, and I want to know what you think about this, is that the 49ers, that this is all Jimmy Garoppolo's fault, that not being able to move off the $25 million of Jimmy Garoppolo is the reason that they're losing Raheem Mostert, the reason that they weren't able to get Chandler Jones or Von Miller. This is all his fault.
Silly.
They would have been able to keep Laken Tomlinson. They would have been able to keep DJ Jones. They would have been able to keep Raheem Mostert. It's all Jimmy's fault.
Lincoln got $13 million a year?
Yeah.
DJ got $10 million a year?
Yeah.
Mostert got $3 million a year. Chandler Jones is getting $17 million a year. That's already over what you saved with Jimmy Garoppolo. What are y'all talking about?
Well, I'm just saying, no, they could have kept those 3 guys with Jimmy's contract.
Maybe. They still have to sign here. Even if you free up the cap space, it doesn't mean they're going to sign here.
It doesn't mean they want to be here. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, take a chill pill. Just because Jimmy Garoppolo's cap is being eaten, if you have that cap, it's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that a guy is going to sign with an organization or go with your team because you have the availability to offer him what someone else offered him. The other thing you have to keep in mind and balance with this that people don't want to talk about, Ant, is California and where you're at. 13 million here is not 13 million in most of the other places in the country where you can go play for some of these teams. Raheem Mostert taking $3 million to go play in Florida is smart because you're going to get most of that $3 million. In California, you're not getting most of that $3 million. Most of that $3 million is going somewhere else. And there is no reason to believe that this contract for Raheem Mostert is a guaranteed $3.125 million. It's probably a $1.5 million guarantee with escalators to double the contract.
I'll bet it's fully guaranteed.
You think it's fully guaranteed?
To get him to go there? Absolutely.
Oh, man.
McDaniel knows what he's getting with that explosiveness. He knows how much he changes the offense. So, yeah, I think he would go all in on getting Raheem Mostert in.
DJ, that is bold. It is kind to say. 49ers focus. I would make Alex a running back. I'm sure when he's chased by defenders, he'd be flying down the field. You would be wrong. I am not fast. Not a skill set of mine. Speed is not a skill set. Intelligence, yes. Ability to understand and dissect things that are going on. Yes. Vision, absolutely. Speed, I'll be slower than Trey Sermon out there, boys. You don't want me in a backfield running the football.
Wouldn't we all be slower than Trey Sermon? He's pretty fast.
And 4.57 is not slow.
No.
Not slow. I think my fastest time that I ever ran was like a 4.7. That was at the peak of physical prowess at age 18 before the body just betrayed me,
Wow.
So no, you don't want me in the backfield carrying a football. It's not good for anybody. The Niners are not in playoff contention if I'm in the backfield carrying a football.
I can make that claim right now that in no world would the 49ers be better off with you at running back.
Agreed with you. I'm not even going to argue.
Yeah.
At no point in my athletic career either.
No, I think there's probably every high school team in the area that would not be better with you at the running back position.
Wait, right now?
Yeah.
Well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Right now? Starting to get back into that groove, man. It'll be hard to tackle.
That's cool.
At the high school level.
That's cool, man. Bill Walsh would have cut you loose already.
It's true. See you later, sir. Not what you think. Can't these NFL players maintain residency in Nevada or someplace with lower taxes and just rent hotels so they don't have to pay California taxes? No, it's not how it works. So these contracts, how they work is whatever state you end up playing in is where that money is getting essentially what you get taxed at. That's why these guys need accountants who do crazy things, because if you're a team who you're playing at least 7-8 road games a year, right? Every state that you play in, it's a different tax bracket for that game check. So different percentage of taxes are coming out from those game checks. So if you're based in California and then you end up playing a couple other extra teams in the California area, you're going to have an overwhelming amount of money coming out and getting taxed, basically California percentage.
Yeah, the 49ers are going to get taxed 11 times the California rate because they're playing the Chargers. And I don't know if they're playing the Chargers there, but they will play the Rams there once. So it's 10 or 11 times. That's not a good rate. So I'm sure these players take that into account. Do you want to play for the 49ers for the team, part of it, playing for Kyle Shanahan and under John Lynch and all that? Yeah, I think you do. But I mean, that's one thing the agents and their money people think about. So
Brad Jones just said it, Ant, breaking at the moment. Per sources, Broncos are planning to sign San Francisco offensive lineman Tom Compton to a 1-year deal.
Wow, losing Compton. I'm kind of surprised.
Emergency Twitter space. Tom Compton signs with Denver per Jason Aponte 24 seconds ago. Oh my goodness gracious, guys. Breaking. Well, Tom Compton looking like he's going to Denver.
Well, I think that means the nightmare of Tom Compton and Daniel Brunskill starting at guards is over.
It's true. We can stop talking about that now.
So Tom Compton is going to be gone. The 49ers are going to be moving on. So yeah, I don't know if it's true yet.
Don't know. It's not official.
I haven't seen any confirmation yet.
It is not official. The person who has reported it is Ryan O'Halloran. He's a Broncos beat writer for the Denver Post. So he probably is tied in with the organization. So there is a possibility that this is accurate.
Yeah.
But until we get confirmation, like in its entirety, there's no way to know for sure. No way to know for sure, but it's looking like that is going to be the case.
Bigger loss, Raheem Mostert or Tom Compton?
Raheem Mostert.
What?
I don't think it's even close. You think it? I know you're joking, but I know you're joking. Jay Ellie with the accurate and very accurate indeed. It's totally Tom Compton, right?
Yeah,
totally Tom Compton. This is an interesting situation. Here's the good news for 49ers fans right now. And the running back room is only eating up $2.8 million in cap space, so that's nice.
Yeah, we needed to eat up a little bit more. Then they need to go get a couple of guys.
Just a few.
SL Million says Broncos are taking the chip. That AFC West is about to be.
They're all going. Listen, here's the thing, right? All 4 teams are going all in. Literally, all 4 teams. They're signing as many people as they possibly can. They're doing everything they can to be the 4 best teams in the AFC, which means they're going to beat up each other. Like they're going to beat the living snot out of each other. But that also could mean here in the next year or two that a lot of these teams, the window that is open, may close pretty quick and hurry.
Well, I mean, you got Justin Herbert. That's their window. They're in their rookie pay scale. So they have to go all in. They're supposed to go all in. That makes a lot of sense. I think the Raiders, if they went all in, which, they went all in on this season, if they move on from Derek Carr, they could be going to a rookie pay scale here pretty quick too. So things change in a hurry, but we'll see. But it appears the Bills are going all in too. The AFC is going to be crazy nasty. I don't feel like there's an NFC team yet that has made the moves that the AFC has made. The AFC is going all in a lot of different areas.
That they are. And look, just because you're going all in and spending a bunch of money in free agency and bringing all of these guys in, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be better off because of it. These teams in the AFC West all going all in at the same time could mean that, two of these teams don't end up making the playoffs, and then you did all of this, made all this move, spent all this money, and you're no closer to being in the position you want to be in. So it is a risk. It is a risk doing what they're doing. It's also a risk what the Niners are doing right now, which is kind of sitting pat and waiting for things to go. We get anything in return from Mostert? Forktail is asking. I'm not sure. I don't know if that would be the case. I don't know if it's enough money for them to get anything back.
Yeah, you can get something back, but right now I believe it would be a 7th round pick if Mostert was to leave. I mean, CJ Beathard fielded the 49ers as 7th round comp pick.
True.
So right now with the 49ers losing Compton, losing Mostert, they would get comp picks back, but they would be late round comp picks.
It's gonna be low. Ideally,
I believe this year they ended up being like 2 6s and a 7 for player losses. So.
It's true. Brad says on all caps, and we have to face the AFC West next year. That's accurate.
Yeah,
we do have to face all these teams.
It's going to be rough. It's murderer's row out there. 49ers are going to see familiar faces in Russell Wilson, and Patrick Mahomes. I think this is going to be crazy, and they're playing the Raiders again. So, yeah, this is not going to be an easy schedule for the 49ers, especially with all the improvements that the AFC West is continuing to make.
Accurate answer.
So
very accurate
some people on Twitter are pushing for the 49ers to sign now Justin Jackson to play running back.
It's an interesting proposition. It definitely is. And by the way, breaking the Buccaneers Buccaneers franchise tagged Chris Godwin and then reached an agreement with on him 3 years, $60 million, $40 million guaranteed at signing. So there's that. Yeah, the 49ers, I mean, maybe Justin Jackson, maybe he's kind of a speedy, shifty guy, but he hasn't really necessarily shown to be someone who is a reliable, sort of running back other than a third down option. It might be an upgrade over someone like JaMychal Hasty. Maybe.
I don't know. I get the ties, right? People are trying to tie him because of Anthony Lynn. That's where I see a lot of ties. It's like, oh, well, Anthony Lynn's here and he's worked with these different running backs. I don't know. I think you really just have to find guys that are complete scheme fits for what Kyle Shanahan wants. I'm going to kind of stand by the Philip Lindsay thing. I think he makes a lot of sense for the 49ers, but we'll see what their plan is. I think Kyle, in a perfect world, would love to have Cordero Patterson. I think that would be his number one guy. I just don't know if he's going to be able to get him at the money, and maybe they are, right? Maybe they're going to pay him $5 million. That's why they weren't willing to pay Mostert $3 million, because they want to have a guy that can do more.
Sure, Jan says Jimmy G outlasting half the squad right now. That's what it feels like. It definitely does feel like that at the moment. And I know 49ers fans are pulling their hair out about this. Bay Rays Niners says, wow, Niners, wow. Luke is saying, Mac. Android user saying, are we panicking over the lack of a Jimmy deal yet? No, I'm not panicking still. It's just frustrating because you'd like to just have the capital, know what you're getting, and be done with the situation.
Right,
but I'm not panicking.
But no, I mean, right, if you were willing to sign Raheem Mostert and you were willing to pay the money, you could tell Raheem Mostert. I mean, look how the 49ers have operated with everyone in good faith. They could have told Raheem Mostert, look, we're going to move Jimmy in the next 48 hours. Agree to terms with us. You don't have to sign the deal. We don't, it won't put us under the cap until you do sign the deal and we turn it into the league. They could have easily have done that. None of these deals are official until they send it into the league. So just agreeing to terms with the player doesn't mean that, hits your salary cap right away. So I think that they could have done it if they wanted to. It's obvious that either Raheem Mostert didn't want to be back or that the 49ers planned on going a different route. Is that different route a free agent, or are they planning on rolling with the guys they got? I would assume they're going to bring in a free agent, but I'm not 100% sure.
I would assume so as well. But no, everyone talking about panicking about Jimmy. I'm not there yet.
I'll tell you when I'll panic is after Watson gets moved. If after he gets moved and we start to get 48 hours out from that and Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been moved, I'll start to get kind of worried about this going all the way to the draft, because then I think that is the next opportunity for him to kind of get moved. And I think at that point you are looking to fill out the rest of your roster, so that would be kind of tough.
Quest for 6 feels like his $25 million is holding us hostage a tiny bit.
Could be,
maybe, but here's the thing: you still have about $3.5, $4 million roughly in cap space, because not everyone has signed their tenders yet. So you're looking at about $3.5, $4 million that you can play around with. If that were truly the case, Raheem Mostert just got 3.125. You could have signed Raheem Mostert to that deal. So it doesn't feel like they're hamstrung. It feels like they just didn't want to do it.
They can agree to terms with anyone they want. Until that deal is sent into the league, it doesn't matter. So they could find ways to free up cap space along the way. That's what everyone's doing right now. They're agreeing to terms on contracts, and they're going to figure out how to get there. I think that this is just one of those things where I think the 49ers weren't willing to make that financial investment into Raheem Mostert.
I think, too, the thing that the 49ers fans need to keep in mind, right? Last year, what's happening right now, last year people thought was going to happen in San Francisco. You're not going to be able to bring all of these guys back. You're not going to be able to get Trent Williams back, Juszczyk back, Kittle back. Like, we're not going to be able to do all of these things. We're not going to be able to bring all these names back. What is happening right now in San Francisco, everyone thought was happening last season. Coming into this offseason, it felt like we were going to be able to bring back a lot of our guys, and so far that hasn't necessarily been the case. It's been a little bit of a role reversal in terms of what you've seen. And, Lynch kind of shed some light on that a few weeks ago, where he said you have to learn to know when to let guys go, get those compensatory big backs, address your team and options in other ways, and potentially draft replacements and develop them. It looks like maybe that's the plan with some of these guys this year.
It has to be. You can't afford to pay everyone. That's just a simple fact of it. I think that, it was always inevitable that when the money got to certain levels for Laken Tomlinson and for DJ Jones and now apparently Raheem Mostert, that you were going to let those guys walk. You have to, so that way you can make sure you keep other players in other areas. I know that in the long run, I'd rather let Laken Tomlinson and DJ Jones go that means I can keep Deebo Samuel down the road, or I can keep Nick Bosa down the road. So these are things that you knew was going to happen. The 49ers still have other ways that they can free up some cap space. I look for that to happen at some point. But the Jimmy Garoppolo contract is looming. I think if they push came to shove and they needed to make a move, they would ultimately pull the trigger on a deal. So far, they haven't felt compelled to do so. And until they do, they're not going to pull the trigger on getting off of Jimmy Garoppolo's $25 million contract.
No, it doesn't feel that way at all. Matt Callaway said draft picks are going to cost as well. That is accurate. I think the projected number right now is about $7.7 million is what the draft picks that the Niners currently have are going to roughly cost them coming into the season.
Yeah, because they don't pick in the first round.
Correct.
A first-round pick would easily elevate that well over $10 million, but because they don't, it's more cost-effective. So, yeah, draft picks cost money, but you're right. Having about $8 million right now would be able to bring all those guys back. Plus, I don't believe the 49ers are going to select 9 players. I think they'll use those 9, picks, maybe a 10th one if they have Jimmy Garoppolo, to move up as much as they can into the 150, and then anything else push out until 2023 by trading out and picking up more picks for the future.
Possibly. And a $5 super chat here from Jag. Jag, how you doing, my guy? Says, hi, TCC. I'm worried about Lincoln Loss, always steady, never injured. Is Banks the answer? Jalen Moore, a guard or tackle? Just want to have Trey protected. I get the concern. Lincoln is a steady presence. He's been a steady force for this team since you made the trade for him and brought him in. He hasn't missed a football game, and he's been reliable. He's helped establish that left side as a side that the Niners could run behind for heavy and big chunks of yardage. Losing him sucks. It really does. It truly wasn't great. But you have to try and understand, too, what the Niners value of the interior with their offensive line. It's not something they value. It's left tackle, it's center, it's right tackle, and then it's your guards after that. They weren't going to pay $13 million. It doesn't even look like they're willing to go up to about $7 or $8 million potentially for an offensive guard for a lineman. So they're either stuck with getting a bargain basement guy or someone on the cheap, drafting someone, or developing the guys they already have in place.
I think they went in on this last year. They made a serious investment in the draft. They got Aaron Banks. They got Jalen Moore. Those guys are going to be in the mix to compete for that job. You add Justin Skule and Colton McKivitz, a couple of recent pickups by the 49ers, a 6th-round pick and a 5th-round pick, respectively. Those are your guys that are going to compete on the interior with Daniel Brunskill, the incumbent at right guard. So I think that right now the 49ers, that's what they're going to roll with. I don't think they're going to go with another guy unless they can get somebody that would come in on the cheap, and I don't see that guy right now. We also have questions about Mike McGlinchey because of the health. If Mike McGlinchey isn't ready to roll, that brings even more things into question, because then Jalen Moore or Daniel Brunskill, one of those guys will be playing right tackle. So I think there are questions on the offensive line, but it appears that the youth movement is here, and they've invested enough picks, including a 2nd-round pick on Aaron Banks, to believe that they got guys that can go do it. Now they just got to go get it done.
That's what it comes down to, is getting it done at this point in time. Megan with a $2 super chat and $1.99 super chat. Actually, go Niners. You got to try and be positive with your team. I know it's frustrating. I know it's tough. Sheem says just release Jimmy and take the $18 million. Keep him is only hurting us. It's obvious teams think very little of Jimmy, and so do I. I don't agree with that. I don't think teams think little of Jimmy. I think the reality is that Deshaun Watson is potentially a game changer for a lot of these teams. They feel this is a franchise quarterback. This is an elite quarterback in the league. He's shown that as much. And when you have that on the table, right, that could be the difference between your team being a contender and your team being a pretender. And so you're going to do everything you possibly can to try and bring the guy in who's elite that could make you a contender.
Yeah, I mean, you really just got to make consistent moves. You gotta make moves that are going to make you better, and sometimes it's vet players and sometimes it's young players. So I'm just curious how the 49ers are going to continue to build their team. And when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo and that money, I think that we all have to just take a wait and see approach. I think we're all getting a little disappointed with the fact that it hasn't happened yet. But one of the things is what's going to happen if John Lynch does move Jimmy Garoppolo and gets a nice haul for him. A lot of people are going to be like, wait, why was I even concerned the whole time? And of course, if he doesn't, then, a lot of people are going to be like, wow, he really, screwed the pooch on this. So I think it's one of those things. I'm just taking a wait and see approach. I don't really have an opinion because I don't know what those inner negotiations are. The one thing I do know is I've heard Scott Pioli and some of these other guys that have been in the front office before talking that Jimmy Garoppolo does have value. And people like Cosell saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is well respected around the league. There's a lot of teams that would love to have him as a quarterback. So I'm gonna just wait, see what happens. I believe that there is some sort of a market. I don't know if that market is what John Lynch wants it to be. I don't know if he's just holding out, and he thinks that once the Deshaun Watson thing happens, he's going to get all the picks that he wants. But I do know that we're going to find out here soon enough because Deshaun Watson is going to make a decision. And when that happens, one of these teams is going to have to pull a trigger on getting Jimmy Garoppolo.
The Google account, and with the insight and the silver lining that I think all 49ers fans need to keep in mind right now. Look at the bright side, fellas. The Seahawks, shambles. Rams lost Von Miller and their left tackle. Cardinals lost Chandler Jones and their QB is distraught. There you go. We'll take that. We'll take that right now. That lessens the sting.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in the NFC West has gotten better. I don't think the 49ers have gotten a lot worse, and I don't think anyone else has gotten better. So I think the Niners are still sitting in the middle of the NFC West. The thing is how they build it now for the rest of the offseason is going to be very important, because there is a moment where the Rams are going to make a move. They have to. They need an edge rusher now, possibly linebacker. Could they go Bobby Wagner? We'll see. I think this is something that we're going to have to monitor, because they're going to make a move at some point. And Arizona is, I don't know what Arizona is doing, but they're not making great moves down there either.
No, they are not. Julian Figueroa a little earlier said, Figueroa said, love this team till the end of time, but man, I am pulling my hair out right now. LOL. A lot of people are. A lot of people are pulling their hair out. A lot of people are frustrated. Has anyone ever won the Super Bowl by winning free agency? Says Quest for Six.
It doesn't happen very often. The one thing Field Yates put out this year was actually the top spenders in free agency over the last 5 years has improved the most win total of games out of every team in the NFL. So I believe I believe the Patriots, was it last year the Patriots went all in? And they improved by like 7 games. So this is something that happens. So you could expect a little bit of a push from it normally, but it doesn't normally work out in the end. You got to be able to draft and develop if you want to continue to win in this league. Of course, the Rams found a way to win a Super Bowl, but for continued success, you have to be able to draft and develop. But the Rams did draft and develop some players. I mean, Aaron Donald is homegrown. They have some other guys that are homegrown as well. So, you have some, but it's a kind of a combination of both. I don't think you can blow your wad in either one area. You have to kind of have a balance there.
You have to try to anyway. It's all about that trying to have that balance and trying to do things the right way. How many NFC teams have gotten better as well? I mean,
not many.
Not many. The NFC right now is a lot of teams sitting pat with what they had and trying to make sure they bring back the people they can and address things in certain ways. I said this. When we looked at the amount of salary cap space available for some of these teams, and it looked like a lot of AFC teams at the top of the board with space. And the AFC has been a weaker division, weaker of the two conferences for a little bit of time, other than a handful of teams. They're definitely turning that on the head, or trying to turn that on its head this offseason. But, just because you're spending money doesn't mean it's going to necessarily translate. It's a risk either way, right? You either draft players and develop them, it's a risk, or you sign big names and hope they fit into the system and can have the impact you want them to have. That is also a risk. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, everything you do is a risk, you know what I mean? You have to kind of have a risk-reward type philosophy for everything that you do, and this is one of those things. But I think the Niners now have, we were wondering what we were going to come out of free agency with possible holes that need to be filled. Right now, you would think that they still have holes at the wide receiver position, holes at the running back position, potentially holes on the offensive line, and a hole at tight end. They don't, unless Jordan Matthews is going to be tight end 3, they have a hole there. So it appears that most of the holes are on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they still have some decisions to make with the defensive line. Arden Key and Jordan Willis are still out there. They did go ahead and make a defensive line move today. Your linebacker room is pretty locked in. I think Aziz is coming back. You're going to have Drake Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, and of course, they made another signing there as well. So I think that they're locking in certain areas. They need to make one safety signing. So defense is almost getting to where defense is locked in. Offense has the most holes, and they're going to have to fill those. Is it going to be through low-budget free agency guys, or is it going to be in the draft, or a combination of both? I think that's we're going to find out in the next few days, especially once they move on from Jimmy Garoppolo officially.
That's the key, right? Is eventually moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo, whenever that may be. If Deshaun Watson would like to go ahead and just pick his team tonight, that would be great. While we're live, it'd be absolutely incredible.
Pro Football Talk says he is absolutely torn on his decision.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
And the rumor is because secretly he wants to come to San Francisco, and the 49ers aren't in on it. So that is apparently his problem.
It's true. Tommy Huxley, I mean, unfortunate for Deshaun Watson, but if it doesn't happen when it happened, he may have been a San Francisco 49er last season.
He would have been.
100%. Yeah. Tommy Huxley, $2 super chat. Wagner to the Lambs. Is it possible, please? No. With Von Miller gone, it is. It definitely is possible.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Wagner might play for the Los Angeles Rams. I think the one thing that I would be happy about is if he's playing linebacker, that strengthens our linebacker room, but they still need another edge rusher, in that room, because Donald's good, but he needs somebody on the outside, or you can take Donald away. So I think this is one of those things you're just going to wait and see what they do. But yeah, he's possible there. I think Bobby Wagner is also possibility for Denver. Russell Wilson is pushing pretty hard to get him up there.
That is accurate, Ant. They are trying to do everything they can to add as many pieces as humanly possible. Android user, Niners can't afford to buy a Super Bowl, is what Jan is saying. I think at the end of the day here, we're not spending, but we're not spending money in free agency, says Android user. We're not. We haven't spent money in free agency yet. That hasn't happened. Part of that is because you have Jimmy Garoppolo's contract on the book, and part of it is I don't think the Niners want to overpay certain things. I think they're letting things play out. I think they're waiting to see what guy goes where. I know people feel like the Niners, have lost leverage with Jimmy Garoppolo. I know they feel like Jimmy Garoppolo has no value. But the reports that are coming out too about the Browns, apparently someone within the organization, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but I've seen now 4 or 5 different people reporting it, saying they want an adult at the quarterback position, basically taking a shot at Baker Mayfield. This wouldn't be the first time someone in the Browns organization has taken a shot at Baker Mayfield, whether it's former players or front office people.
Well, it was reported by Chris Mortensen. So, I mean, that's a pretty good source. That's a pretty good source. So, Chris Mortensen's saying that
it doesn't usually put nonsense out there.
Well, I do think they're ready to move on from Baker Mayfield.
Agree with you.
The question is going to be, if Deshaun Watson doesn't pick Cleveland, can they put the toothpaste back in the bottle?
I don't think so.
And that's the thing is, if they can't, then they're going to have to move on from Baker Mayfield. I heard a crazy trade scenario, and I think I sent it in the group chat last night, where Indianapolis Colts actually sent a first-round pick to get Baker Mayfield. And it was a 3-team trade where the Texans ended up, getting all the draft capital they needed. The 49ers, ended up getting some draft capital, and Jimmy Garoppolo, I believe, did he get traded? No. Wait, let me bring up that trade.
Actually, I want to remember what the trade scenario was that you sent.
I don't even remember if Jimmy was for sure in it or not.
I don't know if Jimmy was in it. I don't know if that was the case or not. Let's see here, Ant. Did
you bring it up?
See. I don't have it. It's the wrong. I think it's the wrong group message. Ant. I think I looked at the wrong one.
Okay, here it is. I have been told, and this is somebody apparently that writes there, I have been told if Deshaun Watson wants to go to Cleveland, the Colts will send their 2023 first-round pick to the Texans. The Browns will send 2 first-round picks, a 2022 and a 2023, and Cleveland will send Baker Mayfield to Indy. So, yeah, the Niners weren't involved to be starting quarterback if Watson chooses Cleveland.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I would be... Would you give up a first-round pick for Baker Mayfield?
No.
Do you think the Colts wouldn't... I mean, if the Colts gave up a second for Jimmy or a first for Baker, wouldn't they rather give up a second for Jimmy?
Why would anyone give up a first-round pick for Baker Mayfield? What has he done that is worthy of a first-round pick other than being young? I mean, if that's all that matters anymore is youth, then the league is going in the wrong direction. That's not how this is supposed to work. That's not how you build teams. It's just getting young. Getting young doesn't mean anything. It's not going to necessarily do anything for you.
Yeah.
Quest for 6 says we should snag Fowler before the Lambs sign him again. I like that signing. I thought it was something the Niners may have done earlier. I'm not as convinced anymore, Ant. I'm not convinced that the Niners are going to go get another name. O-line is the last major concern for this team, says Freak Stomp. It is a concern. It's something you got to address. Your God, Pain Train, says, love how whenever we lose a coach, they just coach our staff players. LOL. Well, enjoy Mostert because he's going to just get hurt again. This is what a lot of people feel like. They definitely feel like Mostert wasn't going to be healthy. This is an interesting dynamic and situation. Miami stealing your boy, says Daniel. They did. What do you mean Jimmy wasn't in the trade, LMAO? We just read it off, so you're good now, Hendricks. You saw what it was. Trey Lance must be thinking he won't play until 2023. I don't know why he would be thinking that. Nothing right now says that Trey Lance is not playing. I get that Jimmy's still on the roster, but the Niners were always going to be patient with this. They weren't going to rush and jump and take the first thing. We've been saying this for a while. We've been saying this for a while. They weren't going to just run and jump and take the very first thing that came their way. They were going to try and get the most they possibly could for this.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the roster for the 49ers in 2022, but I think that they're making people believe that he will. I think they're doing everything they can to posture and make people believe what they want them to believe because they want to get the most back they can get for him. At some point, somebody's going to pull the trigger. Like I said, somebody's going to blink. And right now, no one's blinking. The one way you do that is you add extra pieces, to the fray. It needs to become somewhat of a triple threat. Right now, it's just a stare down. We need somebody to come in with a steel chair and whack Chris Ballard from the Colts over the head with a big-time deal that gets this back on track and gets a little bit of a push going so the Niners can get it done. But right now, we don't have, the craziness that is Carolina or the Browns now moving on from the child, per se, of Baker Mayfield, with Kevin Stefanski. So I think that right now they're just waiting. They're waiting for other people to enter the room. And once those other players enter the room, then something could possibly get done, because then I think the 49ers know they have a commodity and there's not many other players available now that are as good as that commodity, because Marcus Mariota is not that guy. So I just don't think that's going to happen. Are you going to choose Andy Dalton and Marcus Mariota over Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't think so.
No, I don't believe that is going to be the case. By the way, Ant, Rams Twitter is absolutely losing their mind about Von Miller leaving. They are not happy, and a lot of people are. It just started trending over here for me. There's some people who are like, Aaron Donald's not going anywhere. You just get him on the phone, you ask him to restructure, you be transparent on the next steps of what you're going to do at the edge, and just calm him down. And there's some of Rand Twitter right now that's going, oh my God, Donald's leaving now. He's retiring now, isn't he? So there's a lot of teams freaking out. There's a lot of teams freaking out about names leaving, guys going different places. So 49ers fans, you're not alone. You're not the only fan base right now that feels like, hey, guys, do something. We need to do something. We're not doing anything. There's a lot of fans that feel this way right now. But at the end of the day, the Niners have a plan in place. They have an idea of who they want to bring in, who they want to target. That's why you had the Oren Burke signing. That's why you had the Hassan Ridgeway signing. The Niners have guys that they're targeting, and they have a number for these guys. And if the number is exceeding the expectation in terms of what they want to pay.
I'm just going to hold it here until you're done, because
go ahead.
You just threw out those two names, and everyone else is signing big-time players, Alex.
Correct.
And that's what we get? That's what we get. We don't get a big-time player besides Charvarius Ward. We get those guys, right? Those are the guys we're targeting? No.
Filling out depth.
I'm just speaking from every 49er fan right now. We want more.
I get it. You want more? I want more.
It's just like the GIF. More. That's what
I want it now, Daddy.
I don't know about the daddy part. That's on you, bro. You do you.
Look, at the end of the day, I as frustrating as that is to not sign and go after the big guys, the Niners have a plan in terms of how they want to build out this team and what they think they need. And obviously right now, with the numbers that some of these other guys have gone for, Ant, that isn't what they're trying to do. They're not trying to bring some of those guys in at that money.
Mr. Corey, Von Miller was a riddle. Don't know why all 20 Rams fans would be upset.
He's not wrong about the 20 Rams fans, Ant.
Well played.
He ain't wrong about the 20 Rams fans.
Yeah, well played.
Bobo, we'll go after some big name cap casualties in the coming days. That's what his belief is.
We'll see. There has been some that have come around. I mean, I see that there's probably going to be more in due time. There's going to be players that are going to be available, and I still think there's a lot of kind of low budget, high reward guys that are available, especially in the running back room, because it's just not a room that's valued very often. But the offensive line is the key. Yesterday's live stream, people were bringing up Brian Bulaga, a guy with a lot of injury history. I don't see the 49ers being able to do that. I seen Keesenberry being brought up as well.
True.
As somebody that the 49ers could be interested in. We still have the center from the Browns that's available. There are some guys available. Just are the 49ers going to be willing to pay an interior offensive lineman, the amount of money they're going to have to? And they're definitely not going to be willing to pay Bulaga a decent contract. So, I mean, and even if you did get Bulaga or signed a right tackle, are you kicking Mike McGlinchey inside? Is that the move that's finally getting done? I'm not opposed to moving McGlinchey inside. I just don't know if the 49ers are going to be willing to do it, because they're paying him $10.8 million, and you just moved off Laken Tomlinson because you didn't want to pay an interior offensive lineman, $10+ million. So that's the one move we know is not about tax, getting a tax break, because the only thing as bad as California is New York.
Accurate.
Yeah.
You're not wrong on that, and it's crazy. Yeah. The two coastal places are, just a hot mess for teams trying to do anything. Andrew user said, would Leonard Fournette be a good scheme fit for us? I don't think he'd be a bad scheme fit, but here's the problem. He's going to cost way too much money.
Leonard Fournette is going to fit a certain type of role. But Fournette is one of those guys, he can pretty much do it all, right? He can play in any system. He's not the dynamic speed thing, but I don't think he fits money-wise. I don't think they're going to pay that much. I think if they're going to pay that much, it would need to be someone like Cordero Patterson for this reason. He can play running back and wide receiver, so you have an extra weapon. So you can kind of, if he's your fourth or fifth wide receiver, and he's also your second or third running back, or even running back one, I don't think he would be running back one, but it's two, then splitting the money, right? If you're giving $3.5 million for running back, $3.5 million for wide receiver, there you go. I think that case, it makes sense.
Talvo, the Niners have a plan in place. Keep telling yourself that. I will. I'll keep telling myself that.
I mean, everyone has a plan. It's just like last year in the draft. The 49ers had a plan going into rounds 2 and 3, and the plan got thrown upside down on its head, and they walked with Aaron Banks, Trey Sermon, and Ambry Thomas when we know that's what it wasn't. They wanted to get Paulson Adebo. They did not get Paulson Adebo.
They wanted Walker Little.
and they wanted Walker Little, and it did not happen. And now we're in the boat that we're in. You're just hopeful that they were able to draft and develop. And if they're able to draft and develop, it's fine. But you're right. Everyone has a plan until it doesn't work. And we'll see. We'll see what that plan is. But, Alex, we want more names. We want bigger names. Come on now.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I want bigger names. I'm trying to be realistic. It hasn't happened. I don't see it happening at this point.
No, and we got a Hassan, but not even the one we would want.
No, I would rather have Hassan Reddick.
I'll be honest, when I saw Hassan Ridgeway, I was like, wait, I thought he already signed.
Didn't Reddick get... Oh, it's not Reddick, it's Ridgeway.
It's Ridgeway.
Oh, it's Ridgeway.
And you know what? And Ridgeway is going to be a good football player for this team. He's going to be a nice part of the rotation. It's going to be a great move. As long as the 49ers make a couple of moves here and there that don't make Ridgeway one of the shining moments, I think we'll be okay.
Very true. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth back-to-back by Daniel and Ty. Ty and Daniel, both there with the back-to-back Mike Tyson lines, Ant.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well done.
Good job, you two.
Everyone has a plan. Yeah, until you get punched in the mouth. That's the truth.
Hendricks, nobody wants Jimmy. That's why they still have Jimmy LMAO.
Maybe. We'll see.
Time will tell.
We're going to know. If he gets traded, somebody wanted him. If he doesn't get traded, nobody wanted him. But we don't know right now, right? And we just have to wait.
True. Who cares about names? I want a team. Just get a team, says Bomber.
Yeah, I want to get a team that can gel. Yeah, I get it.
You want a team that gels? I get it.
No, I get it. I know. I just want names because those names help your team gel. Let's be honest. If you stick Tyrann Mathieu at the safety position, guess what you are? You're a lot better at that safety position. I don't think it's going to be him.
By the way, I know someone asked earlier, has Tyrann Mathieu signed? No,
he hasn't.
Quest for 6. Should the Niners sign Jonathan Hecker to replace Wishnowsky? I don't think you're going to do that. I think Hecker is still a premier punter in this league and is going to command a lot of money.
Well, he was only going to make $2 million.
You pay $2 million for a punter?
I would.
Hecker, I mean,
talk about somebody flipping the field.
He does flip the field.
I don't think they're going to do it, but
he's got an incredible leg.
That's it would be tempting because Hecker can definitely flip the field. You're looking to improve your special teams. If you're going to play field position, you have a really good defense. You have to at least consider it.
Very true. Here's the plan. Trey Lance don't play for us unless Deshaun Watson says no, only wants to go to the Niners to win a Super Bowl. Maybe. I still don't see this. Right. If this is the reality, the only way Deshaun Watson could end up in San Francisco, this is the only way, Cutback Crew. The only way this actually happens is if the Texans are willing to take Trey Lance, one other player, and a pick. And not like a first-round pick, like a third or something.
It would have to be a first-rounder. They would give the value of 2 first-rounders for Trey and then another first-rounder plus a player.
Okay.
But for this, Dr. Ray, Agent of Chaos on Twitter, retweeted the PerSource Broncos planning to sign Tom Compton and said the Chiefs, Chargers, and Raiders will get a boost in their pass rush for 2 games this year. Well played. Well played. Yes, Hecker was released. Yes.
He was released. Luke quit. Watson is not happening. Put that to bed. I agree, Luke.
I want it to bed too.
I want it to bed too, but the 49ers fans are not going to let that go to bed until he signs somewhere else. They won't because it's a guarantee. They believe it's a guaranteed Super Bowl.
I think you would be giving up a whole lot for Deshaun Watson. And I still have so many questions. If this was before all the accusation stuff, 2021, I was all in on this move.
This was would have probably happened.
I think the problem is now at this point, you give up too much. Plus, you just don't know. Is he going to be suspended 6 games? Is he going to be suspended a year? You don't know what the NFL is going to come back and do because he wasn't charged, and by the grand jury, it doesn't mean that the NFL won't find him guilty of some of this and give him a suspension because It's all about protecting the shield.
Well, and here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, the NFL can easily just say this, conduct detrimental to the league, and you put yourself in a situation you shouldn't have. You obviously did it multiple times. You abuse your position, and there has to be some sort of repercussion for that because you need to understand you can't do that again. And if you do it again, it'll be even more severe consequence. So you'd be giving up all that capital knowing there's a potentiality you could be sitting 6 games or more.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's just a lot to give up. Kevin, if our Niners want a team to gel, then we need to be behind Lance, get some decent support ASAP, especially to the right. That isn't Compton. Lance ran more than 60% to the right after all the looks shut down. First off, Kevin, he wasn't going through all of his reads. He goes through one. Right now he's going through 1 to 2 before he's taken off.
Who's that?
Lance. He's not progressing reading the whole field.
No, I don't think he is. I think that's going to come, but I don't think in year 1 he's going through. He's not going through it right now. It was 1-2. He wasn't coming back to 3 and 4. We know that, but that's something he's going to do. He might even be able to do it this year. I mean, with another full offseason, working with the players, understanding the offense, he's going to be vastly different mentally because he's gonna feel more comfortable. He's got to see the speed of the game. Everything's going to slow down a little bit, and I think Trey's going to make a huge improvement. But it's hard to go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one of the things some quarterbacks struggle with, like a Marcus Mariota. He's never been able to go read 1, 2, 3, 4. It was always read 1, 2, and run.
Accurate, Ant. Very accurate. If Watson gets suspended, then Jerry Jones and Snyder need to be suspended too. Also, but the owners have their own rules.
I can agree with that.
I agree with that. I agree with it. Unfortunately, that's not how it's played out in the past in the NFL. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens. We'll see what happens with the Deshaun Watson situation, and the Deshaun Watson situation, as you and I both believe at this point, is the final linchpin in whatever happens with Jimmy Garoppolo. As soon as that goes down, the Jimmy Garoppolo situation becomes much more likely and much more available and possible for the 49ers to move off and deal, because the teams that were in play that don't end up landing Deshaun Watson, right? They don't strike gold in the Deshaun Watson lottery, and are going to be coming back around to San Francisco to figure out who's walking away with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think that market is there for. I mean, if people don't think there's a market for Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know how you could think there's a market for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't. I think that some of these teams are going to have to look themselves in the mirror. I mean, of course, Deshaun Watson's the more enticing, player. They're going to go after Deshaun Watson. But once that ship sails, you're scrambling to try to figure it out. And because this is not a strong draft, it's not like you can put all your capital into that. Oh, we will just go get someone in the draft. There's no guarantee one of those guys you get in that draft is going to be able to play next year, let alone 2 years. So if you have coaches that are entering year 3, year 4, there's a possibility you can get fired. So Frank Reich has got to be worried about his job eventually. You're talking about Matt Rule. Nothing has went right there. He's got to be worried about his job. So I think it's one of those things that you can continue to take into account. Plus Stefanski as well. It's going into year 3. So these guys have to get a veteran quarterback that can win football games for them. And if they miss, it could be a big miss. And that could be the end of their tenure or wherever team they're on.
Very true. Very, very true. I'm trying to see here. Nope. I thought there was potentially something there, Ant, but as of right now, nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. Miami getting Watson, says Daniel. Probably not. We have elite players on this team. We are stacking up our rotation and our backups. I'm anxious to see the finished product, says Zoe81. I think there's some people who definitely feel that way, Zoe, and there's definitely some people who feel like we need to be doing more to help out Trey Lance, and that's what they're wanting to see, is more moves being made, O-line being shored up, some bigger names coming in on the front there. Until it happens, some of the fan base is going to be a little anxious and antsy. Some of the fan base is going to be fine with being patient. Look, I have faith that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in the front office have an idea of what they want to see happen. We'll see, though. We'll see if there's anything big coming down the road, or if this is just a wait till Jimmy Garoppolo is traded before any more big moves get made.
I think it's going to be a little bit of a wait and see for the 49ers. I think that Deshaun Watson is holding them hostage to a point because Deshaun Watson hasn't made his decision. So those extra people haven't, entered the fray, for instance. So they're definitely going to have to make some decisions there. And the 49ers, I'm sure, have players that they would like to sign. They have players, of course, that they like to re-sign, but also players they would like to sign. Whether they need to get a tight end, possibly, maybe even attract a Julio Jones, for instance. So they're going to need money here pretty quick. I mean, they have to bring back maybe Jaquiski Tartt unless they're ready to roll with like Tarvarius Moore. So questions still abound for the 49ers, and I think there's going to be avenues to go ahead and take care of those. Now, Stephon Gilmore still on the market. Tyrann Mathieu still on the market. I don't think either one of them are really priorities for the 49ers, but I think it's interesting that they're still out there. And there's a ton of edge rushers still. I mean, none of those second wave edge rushers have went yet. Every single one of them are pretty much available.
Very, very true, and very, very true. So apparently Matt Barrows has come out and said in the last 40 minutes or so that the market for Jimmy Garoppolo has been the Colts and only the Colts. For Matt Barrows of The Athletic, that's what he is coming out and saying. So we're going to see.
I think so. That's why you got the stare down. Chris Ballard and John Lynch are staring each other down. And right now he's saying, hey, you ain't got anybody else that wants Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just us. And John Lynch is sitting there biding his time, knowing that once Deshaun Watson decides, a team or two are going to enter the fray and be willing to negotiate against Chris Ballard. So then he can go with what he wants, and then he'll get the best deal that he can get. But until then, these guys are just going to stare each other down because the Colts don't need to make a deal until, closer to the season. They can wait. They can wait until the draft, pretty close to the draft. The 49ers really are the ones who need to get off that contract to be able to sign other free agents. Of course, they can create money other ways. But I think the Colts right now are a little bit of a stronger position now that we've gotten past this, this part of the deadline, of course.
Absolutely. And Jag with the $5 super chat, we have to remember that we lost the eventual champions by 3 points. Most of our starters are very good to great players. Need depth. Trey will be good. You have to try and keep in mind where we were and where we finished. And, when you have a roster that's built like that, you don't always have to make big, huge changes. Sometimes it's just small tweaks. And I did want to ask you, did you see that Tyler Conklin signed with the Jets? And did you see the contract?
No, I did not. I did see he signed, but I did not see the
3 years, $21 million.
There you go.
That's a nice number. Now I'm a little bit worried about some of the tight ends that I was looking at. Robert Tonyan looks like he may not be available no more.
We went over this. 3 years, $42 million was his projected value.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. I wasn't expecting Tyler Conklin. The tight end market was looking a little sour there for a little bit. Starting to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look at them. They went and changed their tight end room for big time. They definitely went it went more of the Kyle Shanahan 2 tight end look. They're going to be getting after it there. Miami's doing the same thing, bringing in some fullbacks, making sure they have Gesicki, the tight end, bringing in running backs. Everyone's building the same way. So this is what happens. But the 49ers got to make a couple moves, Alex, and one of those is trading Jimmy. So hopefully they do that here pretty quick.
Oh God, that would be absolutely phenomenal.
One thing I did see, and I was going to bring it up, is George said Watson can't go anywhere unless he approves it, right? Approves it, and right now he wants to be in San Francisco.
The problem is you don't have a first-round pick until 2024.
No, I know. I'm not saying that. It's just he's the one holding everyone hostage, and he wants to get one place. He has a no-trade clause. He could sit there if he wanted to. I know this has been a conversation that they were having, on Twitter today. Was there were guys coming out and saying, look, Deshaun Watson, if he really wants to push this, he can continue to push this. Now, if the 49ers aren't interested, why is he pushing? It makes no sense, right? He would. The only reason he would hold out or wait or threaten to sit out a year is if he believed that the 49ers were actually interested. I don't think they are.
I don't believe so.
I don't think they are.
I don't think you have like 500 text messages going out the minute it got reported that he was talking with and meeting with the team. 500 text messages don't go out to a handful of different reporters so they can all at the same time be like, by the way, just got confirmation from the Niners, not interested. That doesn't happen if the Niners are truly interested.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's no reason for that to happen because if the Niners are interested, the Colts are sitting there going, oh, crap. We could be with no quarterback.
Well, the one thing we'll say too, in that case, they're not really worried they'll get Jimmy Garoppolo anyways.
Maybe.
But the one thing I will say is what people are saying in the chat as well about Deshaun Watson being the proven commodity, that is the truth. That's what you're getting in free agency. That's what you're getting in a draft with a player that's played before. You're getting a proven commodity. So in that case, you can trust what Deshaun Watson is. You don't know what Trey Lance is going to be. So I understand why people are willing to go that route. Just are you willing to pay that price tag? And then also you don't know what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan believe Trey Lance could be. If you believe Trey Lance could actually be a better player than Deshaun Watson, then you're not going to move off of him. So these are some conversations I'm sure they had internally, but I understand what people's thought process is of why they would go with a proven commodity, because I often do that as well. When people are talking about draft picks, they're like, oh, I'll trade this guy and get draft picks. Oh, I'll trade this guy and get draft picks. And it's like, but wait a second. Like one of the famous ones right now is Dre Greenlaw. Greenlaw is a great football player. People are like, oh, I'll just get a draft pick and draft a replacement. There's no guarantee you're going to end up with Dre Greenlaw from that draft pick. Look at what happened already with Buckner. It's like, oh, we'll get a first-round draft pick and we'll get Javon Kinlaw. And so far, Javon Kinlaw hasn't lived up to the billing. It doesn't mean he can't, but he hasn't so far. And that's the risk you run by getting rid of a proven commodity and adding a draft pick. It's a dangerous game. You have to really trust your scouting and your development.
You really do. You really have to. Look, I saw Antonio say Trey Lance for Watson is a fair deal for both teams. The Texans don't feel that way, man. You may feel that way, and I think there are some 49ers fans who feel that way. The Texans don't feel that way, and if the Texans don't feel that way, it ain't happening. It's just not going to happen. The Texans want more than that. They know Deshaun Watson is a generational talent. They know they're moving off a generational talent because the generational talent doesn't want to be there. They're not going to let that walk away for free.
You also don't know if the Texans want Trey Lance. They have, Davis Mills.
True.
Maybe they want to just stick that route. They liked him. They liked what he did. They hired a defensive coach. So they might want to stay with a guy that's not going to turn over the ball, that's not going to make mistakes, somebody they're already comfortable with. So they just might not be willing to make that move. They want to get pieces that are going to help their defense more than likely, and then help Davis Mills also get a little bit better. But I think it really is about the defense, about them improving the defense for Lovie Smith.
Very true, Ant. Very, very true indeed. And look, Lua just asked, I'm late to the party tonight. I don't know if this has been touched on or not, but I heard interested teams are telling Watson the decision has to be made today or they're moving on.
Okay.
True or false? I haven't seen anything to verify whether or not that's true. I would be surprised if teams are saying it has to be made today. I would be more willing and more inclined to believe that teams have said, hey, we need to know within the next 48 hours. Otherwise, this isn't for us. We're moving on. We got things we got to do. We got a team we got to build out.
Yeah, I think so, because they know that they're going to have to incur his $37 million cap hit. So they're looking out and they're like, okay, well, if we're bringing you on, if not, we got to be able to sign other players to build our roster around the quarterbacks. Plus, I mean, like Atlanta, it's real sensitive, right? You got Matt Ryan. You'd have to do something there. You got Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. I think these guys got decisions that need to be made. So I'm sure they are going to put a time limit on it because they don't want him to drag it out for a long time and then their team suffer in the long run. And you know, some of these guys are going to want to get in on Jimmy Garoppolo. And I wouldn't even be shocked if John Lynch didn't tell them, hey, look, if you guys don't make a decision by this time, I'm going to trade him to the Colts. Like, I'm just going to do it, you know, and you would do that to drum up some interest. So, yeah, I think this is something that could happen. I wouldn't be surprised. And maybe that's why Deshaun Watson, they said the decision would come down either tonight or tomorrow, and tomorrow being the deadline because they gave him a deadline.
Very, very true, Ant. Very true. They may have given him a deadline. We'll see. We'll see if a deadline comes to pass, if it comes to fruition, and whether or not, any of these teams actually follow through with that. Because it's one thing to say it, right? It's one thing to be like, Deshaun, 48 hours, that's all you got. And another thing to be at 48 hours, we're out, see you later. And the Texans sitting there going, he's ready, come back. Those are different things entirely. Teams have to follow through on ultimatums, otherwise they're not really ultimatums. It's just it's just a bluff.
Yeah, it's all fun and games, but it does push them against push them to the limit.
It does,
because you don't want one of these teams to walk away. I mean, he would if he decided it was Carolina and they all of a sudden walked away and signed somebody else or made another move. You know, that would be upsetting to him. So he knows he's got to make a move, and they all know they got to go on with making moves themselves to build their football team.
Very accurate, Ant. You have to do those things. You have to try and get them done anyway in a big way, in some way, shape, or form. We'll see. We'll see if any of that happens. We'll see if any of it comes to pass and what comes to pass. It's just crazy to me how many potential players are out there in free agency still that the Niners could do something with and still could go after. We have the Julio Joneses of the world, right? There's still guys like Dante Fowler Jr. There's still guys like Tyrann Mathieu. Washington football team went out and cut a handful of guys from Landon Collins, the safety position, down to some other players as well that have now become available that weren't originally. You got guys like Teron Armstead, right, from New Orleans, who's saying he's waiting to see if Deshaun lands in the Saints before he makes a decision on what he's doing, which means I think he wants to go play for a contender. I think he wants to be somewhere where he can play for a team that can win. I think he'd ideally like to stay in New Orleans, but if they don't land Deshaun Watson, it doesn't feel like that's an option, which may open the door and other avenues for other teams. And maybe that means he's willing to take a little bit less money because I would imagine if he wants to go back to New Orleans with Deshaun Watson's contract, he's not going to be able to get paid a whole heck of a lot.
You don't know. I mean, who knows what New Orleans could figure out with the contract situations.
That's also true. That's crazy.
But you're
crazy
right. There's players out there. I know La'el Collins as well from the Dallas Cowboys may be available at some point.
And it looks like the Dolphins are looking into that as well.
Yeah, and Dallas also is probably going to overpay for an edge rusher here pretty soon.
Absolutely.
The Randy Gregory thing. They went all in on Von Miller, missed out on Von Miller. So I fully expect them to get into the edge rusher market and maybe set it. Now, there are some cheap options out there. I would love to see Collins come to San Francisco. If they could work out the right deal, I think he would fit, and I think it could obviously do something with him on the edge. I think he's got a lot of athletic ability, and maybe he transitions into putting his hand in the ground, more than just what he was doing before in the 3-4 defense. Maybe it's a D4 type transition. I would love that move, but we'll see. I think there's still a lot of edge rushers out there the 49ers could be interested in, and I'd love to see him pick one of them up at a more cheaper rate because I didn't really want to pay the Chandler Jones amount. $17.5 million was definitely too rich for my blood, so I'm kind of glad they stayed away from that. And so right now they've made the one big signing, and the rest have been, smart, prudent moves. Just waiting to see what they do with some of these mid-level guys, because I think there are some mid-level guys that they're going to execute on.
Very true. Quest for 6X, does Matt Ryan have a no-trade clause? No, I do not believe he does. And I know Jan said something to that effect as well, that she didn't believe he did either. I don't think that's the case. So I think the situation there is Atlanta would like to get off the contract. It's a big contract.
If he chose Atlanta, do you think the Colts would go Matt Ryan over Jimmy Garoppolo?
They might, just because he's a vet guy who's Is he more proven than Jimmy? He puts up bigger numbers than Jimmy Garoppolo. Throws more touchdowns. He's been an MVP. Throws for more yards. So I mean, they might do that, which leaves the door open for the Saints and the Panthers. And if the Browns are in fact going to move off of Baker, then that opens the door for Jimmy Garoppolo there as well. I mean, either way, right? It leaves teams available for San Francisco. But just the question is what route do these teams want to go? What do they feel is the best option for their football team? That's what these teams are trying to do, is the best option for their team. Deshaun Watson is obviously the best option for a handful of teams because he's a generational talent and he secures your quarterback room. You don't have questions about your quarterback. Yeah, you have questions about how many games is he playing this year, but you know what you don't have questions for, Ant? After he serves said suspension, you don't have questions about what he can bring to your franchise and to your organization going forward.
Rome 33 says, has prudency got us anywhere asking for a friend? Yes, to the Super Bowl once and to the NFC Championship once.
Accurate.
So they've gotten there twice, to the NFC Championship, once to the Super Bowl. You're right. I mean, this is one of those things, Rome. I'm with you. I was earlier in the episode. I don't know if you were here. I was actually pining for them to make another big move, because I mean, I think that's what I want to see. I want to see them get another guy. I think a mid-level guy that could still be exciting. It's one of these edge rushers. I would love to see it, or an interior offensive lineman. Maybe they find somebody that way. Those are some moves I would love to see. I just don't know if they're going to do it. And it doesn't seem like that's what they're going to do. So I'm kind of sitting here hoping that they're going to make a move. Maybe it'll be Julio or Austin Hooper. Those would be moves that would at least move the needle for me. But right now, it doesn't seem that that's the route they're going.
No, it really doesn't. Power Fitness is saying what a lot of 49ers fans are feeling right now. We missed out on J.C. Jackson, Chandler Jones, lost Laken Thomas, and DJ Jones. Thanks, Jimmy, John, and Kyle.
There you go.
A lot of fans feel that way. So I get it. I get the feeling. I don't know if I necessarily want to put it all on them, but at the end of the day, I get it. I understand what is going on. Antonio says, who cares about the salary cap if the 49ers win the Super Bowl with Watson? Very true. You have to find a way to try and make it work. And by the way, Daniel Harley, thank you for joining the TCC. And Dolphins fan, I just subbed, so we appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
Really do appreciate that. I wasn't a Laken Tomlinson fan. I let him go plenty of times in Madden, says SL Million. So it's good to see you there, my guy. I absolutely freaking appreciate it. Daniel, I do want to point out, I think it was, I forget who it was. Kyle Juszczyk came out and said he wouldn't be surprised if the Miami Dolphins went 16-1 after they signed 2 fullbacks. So they are all in. 49ers fans think Mike McDaniel's going to do one heck of a job there, and I think you and I both believe the same thing. He's going to do a lot of wonderful things.
Well, the reason he said 16-1 too is the one loss is to San Francisco.
That's accurate.
And Miami will be coming, here to San Francisco to play.
That's true. That's true. I guess we are content with being best man at the wedding, says Power Fitness.
Okay, maybe.
We're not standing up there and getting married to the Lombardi Trophy.
What is this, 27 dresses?
Apparently, yeah. NYCE. Solomon Thomas says he's ready to run it back, LOL. Is that accurate?
Did he really say that?
Did he really say that? Hold on a second. No, he did not say that.
Oh, geez. Maybe it was a joke, Alex.
I hope it was a joke. I hope it was a joke. Oh, my God.
Do you think they would sign Solomon Thomas back as like a low-budget type pick to bring him in a rotation?
No.
I know. I don't think they need him as well. You know what I mean? I don't think so. I think they'd rather have Jordan Willis playing defensive end than Solomon Thomas.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think they would rather. I was hoping, I'm not going to lie, you got my hopes up with that one. I was really hoping that was true. I was hoping he had put that out. I really was. I was hoping Solomon Thomas had put that out there. That would be absolutely great. And if he did at NYCE, put the link in the description, because in the comment section right now, because I can't find it.
I love what Mo said. Congratulations, Mostert. You're headed to the Miami 49ers.
Not wrong, Ant.
Yeah.
It is the Miami 49ers. It is happening.
Those uniforms can't touch the 49ers red and gold, though.
No.
The teal don't do it for me.
True. Jan Stewart said at this rate, the whole league going to have a West Coast style offense. You're not wrong.
It is it's definitely a very generic West Coast. It's not
Correct.
the West Coast offense, really. It's just got some principles that are similar. But yeah, everyone is definitely trending to this style of offense. That's for sure, and that's why they're going to get all these young guns for coaches, and it's going to be offensive league. These guys are battling it out. That's why when you see a defensive coach get hired now, it's like, oh, I mean, it's the reason I said I thought Mike McDaniel would get hired before DeMeco Ryans, because it's an offensive league.
Very true, Ant. Very accurate indeed. A guy that we haven't necessarily brought up a whole lot. I know we talked about him in our wide receiver episode.
Yeah.
That needs to get discussed, though, potentially as an option for the Niners is Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is also a guy who's still available, Ant, that fits the big, speedy wide receiver role and could be a wide receiver 3 option for the Niners. They're going bargain basement at some of these positions. He would be bargain basement.
There really hasn't been a lot of movement with the 49ers. I mean, we heard about the Niners being interested, right, in a couple of guys, Will Fuller, MVS, and a couple other guys, but I mean, nothing there. And really, there hasn't been a ton of movement. We know there's a lot of players that are available in the wide receiver position, so you would think the Niners are going to make a move at some point. They might be just waiting to move the Jimmy Garoppolo contract. I mean, that really might be what they're doing.
Possibly.
They did just enough what they needed to do to get under the cap, to start the new league year, and now they're going to make other moves. But I think that it's going to be curious over the next 48 hours to see what happens until Deshaun Watson makes his decision, and then what free agents they go after. What position, Alex, do you think the Niners would go after next? What is the most?
I don't even know if I want to guess anymore, Ant, because it just doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like there's a. I know there's a plan, but it doesn't feel like there's a plan right now. There's so many names that have been available that we thought the Niners would go out and target that made sense for this team, and they just haven't done it. I'm looking at O-line, and I'm like, there's names that we could go get, and we didn't go get them. Looking at running back, there's plenty of names that we can go get that fit the system and can shore up the depth in the room before you get to the draft. They haven't done it. You have 2 wide receivers under contract still, folks. 2. We haven't signed 1. Juwan Jennings hasn't even signed his tender, Ant. What's happening? I can't wrap my head around it. I'm starting to lose my mind. I really am.
And here you were saying it was all part of the plan.
It is all part of the plan. I believe that, but I just...
You don't know what the plan is?
I don't know what it is, and the Niners don't leak.
Yeah.
Oh, it's frustrating.
I think they're just going to continue to make smart moves to fill holes.
That's what they're going to do.
I wouldn't be surprised if safety isn't something that happens, a wide receiver, a low-budget one, but now I think they will address the running back position. In fact, I think they will sign a running back next. I think that's the next move that gets done, unless it's Austin Hooper.
I'm just going to say it's Johnny Hecker.
Johnny Hecker. Wow, you're going punter. Interesting.
And what else did I do, Ant?
Yeah.
What else do I do? I don't know.
Todd says, hey, they're going halfback, O-line, wide receiver. So there you go.
Possibly. Could be the case. Could be the case. I don't know, man. It's frustrating. It just seems like at this point in time the Niners are set and content on waiting to deal Jimmy before they do anything else. That's what it feels like is going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you're a 49ers fan, patience has to now become a virtue. You have to find a way to take a deep breath and just realize, hey, until Jimmy is moved, Niners aren't going to be doing anything. And if the Niners were truly desperate and really hurting, missing out on these guys, then they would have just taken what was on the table for Jimmy Garoppolo. For them, obviously, the guys that have gone and the guys that have left, these weren't priorities at whatever they got paid, right? The number that these guys got and went away with, whether it was Lankin or whether it was DJ, whether it's guys like Chandler Jones, J.C. Jackson, those were just not numbers they were willing to pay. And so they're willing to let these guys walk because it's more important for them to be able to get the guys at the price that they want than it is to overpay for guys right now, put yourself in a very bad cap situation and have to restructure or extend guys longer than you potentially would like to.
Yeah, no, I think so. And Brad Jones just hit it out of the park with his comment. You can't always go home with the prom queen. Sometimes you have to go home with the sure thing. I think so. I think sometimes you're making
solid, Brad.
Yeah, sometimes you're making decisions, and you got to make sure you're making decisions that make the most sense for your football team. And sometimes you just think you're going to get value out of it. I mean, last year, I know we were super hyped when the Raiders cut Arden Key and Maurice Hurst, but those were kind of signings that were very cheap but ended up yielding high rewards. I think the 49ers are going to try to do that. I mean, that's the only way you can consistently say a good football team. You have to make very shrewd moves. You hit the big ones out of the park when you can, that with like Travarius Ward. You wait and see what they do after they trade Jimmy Garoppolo, but it appears they'll have a little bit of money where they can go out and make a couple more moves. I don't know how many big moves they're going to do, but they did take a little bit of an onus and kick the can down the road with the restructures of Armstead and Kittle. So at least they're trying. But I think the most frustrating for most 49er fans is just waiting on Jimmy Garoppolo, because I think everyone knows he's not going to be here, and the Niners aren't going to be using it. Niners could be using his $25 million in other ways, and that's what's frustrating people, because they want to see that money used, and they want to see it used right now, getting players that are going to help this team win a Super Bowl, because we were so close to beating the Rams last year.
Very, very, very true, Ant. Very true. It's just disappointing, right? You were hoping to get more big names. You're hoping for there to be more guys, and there's still time. There's still big names out there, and there's still time. So Todd says, here's a big move, guys. Jimmy G gets traded. We trade for Saquon Barkley. I have a 1-2 punch with Barkley and Mitchell. It would be nice. The problem is that $7 million that you would be paying for Saquon Barkley this upcoming season is a lot of capital for a guy who's been hurt.
Well,
Guy hasn't been available.
And what are you giving up for Saquon? I know the asking price is a 4, but that's a 1-year rental.
True.
Minus you signing Saquon to a new deal. And if you did work out a deal, right, you could lower his cap number for this year off of $7 million. That's a possibility. So I wouldn't rule it as being out of the question. We'll just see if it happens. We'll see if they use some of that draft capital from the Jimmy Garoppolo trade to go and make another move.
Very, very much the case, man. Very, very much the case. Not only Arden Key, but Kerry Hyder Jr., Tomlinson, Ebukam, Mack, etc.
Yeah,
Mr. Corey.
Yep, spot on.
Yep. Man. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. And Jerome Spratt just came in and said Julio. We've seen a couple people talking about Julio Jones. We've also had a couple people talking about how Julio's done stick a fork in him, like Zoe once said a little bit ago. Look, at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan is definitely going to, I imagine, kick the tires on this and investigate what this is going to cost and investigate what the Niners are going to be doing. But look, I think the reality of the situation is right now there are no moves planned. San Francisco has no moves planned. They're not looking to sign or bring in anyone else other than potentially just shoring up roster rotational pieces. Jimmy Garoppolo is priority number one in dealing him, and until Deshaun Watson is off the table, it's just nothing else is potentially possible.
Yeah, it doesn't appear so. It appears they're in a waiting game. I still think there could be some low budget moves that the 49ers go ahead and make, but kind of just waiting to see that done. I was looking to see that Ricky Seals-Jones tight end just signed with the New York Football Giants.
Well, there you
go. So another tight end off the board, but there's still a lot of great players out there that the 49ers can still go after. So I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see how they approach it, and I'm ready to see them get after it.
I really am as well. Are they going to do anything? I don't know. Will there be some bargain basement guys that they bring in and potentially assign? Yeah, it's all doable. It's all possible. But as of right now, it hasn't been happening. It doesn't look to be happening. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Trade hurt for hurt, especially with the shelf life of Kyle's running backs. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be something they do. I don't truly believe they'll be making a play at him unless they were to talk with him and look at potentially contract extension and some friendly money for another year or so. I just don't see that being the case. It doesn't seem doable, doesn't seem likely.
No, I don't think so either. I think that I don't see them trading and paying high price for a running back. So it was always going to be a low-cost option. I thought Raheem Mostert was within striking distance. In fact, I remember telling you, that I thought that there could actually be a bidding war there, and it wasn't. $3 million is what it ends up being. So low-budget guys for the 49ers, there's still guys available, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I kind of expected more action today. We haven't really got a lot of action from the 49ers today. They did make a couple moves, including the restructurings, but they said the second wave was going to go fast, and it hasn't went that fast in San Francisco.
No, it has not. Power Fitness has 26 years and still on a quest for 6 SMH. Power Fitness, that is accurate, but let's not also forget that there are a handful of organizations that have been in the league for longer than 26 years and are still on the quest for 1. So appreciate what you have, appreciate how close we've been, and just understand we're a couple moves away. We're just a couple moves away from the Niners being able to get where they need to be and get over the hump. And I'm excited about that. I believe this team can get there. I have faith this team can get there. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's just get to the end of the tunnel now, boys. Let's get to the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I think we got a long ways to go. I mean, this is the first time that we've actually gotten into actual free agency where these things are real. The new league year is official. I think the reason that I was so excited about today is we had people, reporters coming out saying today was going to be biblical. And the way that things happened, I think everyone was expecting Deshaun Watson to happen, and then all the corresponding moves to come after that. The way I'm going to look at it is this is like hopefully Christmas Eve, and you got to open one present, and maybe it wasn't the present that you wanted, and you even saw your cousin get a present that you wanted, and he got it, and that's Raheem Mostert, and he's going on over there to be with cousin Mike. But maybe tomorrow you're going to get the present you want because Deshaun Watson moves and then Jimmy Garoppolo moves. And if that happens, I think Twitter's going to light up, YouTube's going to light up, and 49er fans are going to have tons to talk about.
Very accurate, and very accurate indeed. Oh, my goodness gracious there. Get a little cough there. Look, I just...
Wow, Rome33 said, can you name the biggest splash signing in
free agency in your lifetime?
Are we talking about 49ers lifetime?
Or are you talking about our specific lifetime?
Yeah, for 49ers? Or like in the NFL? I'm guessing 49ers.
I'm assuming 49ers, and I don't know if he means in our lifetime or the history of the 49ers.
I think he means in our lifetime.
In our lifetime? That's tough, man. That's tough. I think the only one I can think of would be Dion.
Dion was a big one. Overall, I think the biggest free agent signings for the 49ers, Dion definitely tipped the scales. Ken Norton Jr. came in the same year.
Maybe Justin Smith.
Both those were huge. I don't think Justin Smith does it because the team wasn't ready to win right away.
True.
Where the other twos put it over the top. I think those were two huge free agent signings and probably the biggest ones that I can think of in 49ers history because I thought they swung the power from the Dallas Cowboys to the 49ers' favor.
You know what I can tell you, Ant?
Huh.
I can tell you that my father's least favorite free agent signing of all time is Antonio Langham.
Yeah, that
I can tell you that.
Me. Yeah.
He hates that. Literally hates that signing.
I remember one of them that I got super hyped with as a younger guy when it happened was Kevin Green. When the 49ers got Kevin Green, I got super excited. I was like, yeah, we have an edge pass rusher now. I was super excited about it. So that was a move when he came in that I was super excited about. But I think really it comes down to Norton and Dion, at least in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's definitely fair. Todd says Anquan Bolden. Okay.
Well, that was a trade.
That was a trade.
But, yeah, that's a good one.
It's not a bad one.
That's a good one. I just wish it would have ended up being a Super Bowl. But, yeah, that's Anquan Bolden was big for the 49ers.
Young, or was that a trade? Young was a trade.
Young was a trade, 1987 from Tampa Bay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Antonio says Dion, and ever since the 49ers haven't had an elite cornerback like him. Well, they just paid Travarius Ward, and they're hoping he's going to be an elite man-to-man corner.
Well, the problem is there's no one like Dion. I mean, Dion, as far as a man coverage corner, is probably one of the best to ever do it. Maybe the best, and they don't grow on trees. So, no, I don't think the Niners will possibly ever get anyone like him.
Not like that again. Not like that. Not like that again. Jaylee says Green, Harris. Jan, I thought he was drafted. Megan, he was drafted by Tampa. Actually, originally was USFL, then ends up in Tampa, then gets traded to San Francisco.
Yeah, Los Angeles Express from the USFL, ends up in Tampa Bay. They had the rights to him from the NFL draft. Then, Bill Walsh talked him into coming to the San Francisco 49ers in trade, convinced him he would take over at some point for Joe Montana, but that didn't happen until, I think it was 1991 when Steve Young officially took over.
Very true. John Paul says Antonio Langham. Yes, I'm old enough to feel that pain. I think you and Fudgehead would get along, because if there is one 49er free agent that he hates more than any of them, it is Antonio Langham. Talk about bringing that guy in free agency. Go to have him sign the helmet, and he goes to my brother's helmet and puts some squiggly lines on the helmet right next to Jerry Rice's name. My dad looks at the squiggly line. He looks at him and says, "That's how you're going to sign this helmet?" He goes, "Man, I've been out here signing autographs all day." And he goes, "Do you realize whose name you just signed next to?" And as soon as that happened, it was done. Antonio Langham didn't get to sign mine. He signed Xavier's. Thank God for that. I'll have Antonio Langham's signature on my helmet next to the GOAT in Cherry Rice.
Yeah, I mean that's just a bad move by Ralph there.
It's a bad move by Fudgehead.
You would never let Antonio Langham sign a helmet that's signed by Jerry Rice. Like, that devalued it so much.
Oh man, it did.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just being honest. I mean, anyone that knows about values of signatures means you don't do that.
Well, hey, it's not on mine, so I'm safe.
Yeah, you're safe.
I'm good.
Well done. Well done for you.
I got nothing but 49ers greatness on that helmet and no Antonio Langham, so we're fine. Megan, anyone else so happy Eggman Buck will be Monday night, so now we don't have to listen to them on Sundays? Prefer they just...
I'm excited that Joe Buck's not going to be doing Fox Baseball.
That's true.
So we got that going for us. But yeah, I mean, most of the time, the time that I'll now listen to him is Monday Night Football. I can flip over to Manning's, right? Are they still going to do the Manning thing?
Oh, they're going to do the Manning thing. I'm all for that.
They're going to do the Manning thing. I don't even have to listen to Aikman and Buck. That's wonderful.
Ever.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Not if there's a fire.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Not even if there's a fire, and not even a little bit if there's a fire. Cutback crew, let's go ahead and drop some questions in right now. We'll get ready to start wrapping this thing up here in a little bit. As of right now, no news, but if anything does break between now and through the rest of the day, you can guarantee we will be going live to talk about what the heck is going on, what the Niners are doing, what is happening next. SL Million, Pierre Garcon, and his favorite.
Oh, jeez.
With a nice LOL at the end of it. Good one. That was a really good one. It was absolutely solid, my guy. Yeah, questions though, Cutback crew. Questions. That's all we're taking right now, because as of now, Niners, no information, no news, no other moves. They restructured this morning and have been sitting pat ever since.
Lou said, what's the Manning thing? So what that is, Lou, is Eli and Peyton Manning do their own commentary on ESPN2. So you can hop over to ESPN2 during Monday Night Football and listen to them do commentary. And they kind of tell stories, have special guests, and But sometimes it's more entertaining than listening to the actual broadcast. If the 49ers are playing, I won't listen to the Mannings. I will listen to the actual broadcast because they kind of go off on tangents and stuff, but they tell a lot of interesting stories and things. And they'll break down some of the film as it's going on in some of the games. So I do enjoy it at times.
I definitely do enjoy it, and it is a lot of fun. It's a very different way to watch a football game, but an entertaining one nonetheless. Brad just said edge rushers that are left in free agency. Brad, I'm going to pull up the actual list of guys, and then we can talk about the names that kind of make sense for the San Francisco 49ers in terms of potentially pay and what that may look like. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that up, and then we'll talk about it here in a hot second. No ex-Cowgirls commentators at all. I like that, Ant.
Yeah,
I do like that.
I mean, the problem is, right, Romo and Aikman are kind of all over it. And then if you go, more Cowboys, you got Moose Johnston. He does it as well. So Cowboys are all over the place in the commentary area, so it doesn't give you much choice. I'm not a huge fan of the radio broadcast for the 49ers, so.
Very true. Dante Fowler Jr. Is the first name that's available of defensive ends that I think you and I both think would be a good option for San Francisco and could be a nice additional piece. Jerry Hughes, another guy that we've talked about. Yep. He's still available from Buffalo, a little bit older option, but available nonetheless. There's the Jordan Phillips situation now for the Arizona Cardinals where they just cut him. He technically plays DN. I know it's more of an interior kind of 5 tech. He's not really going to be fitting in San Francisco system that way. You always have Jadeveon Clowney, but I don't think either one of us believes that's going to be an option. Tack McKinley is a guy the Niners were interested in, actually brought in last year. He is available on the market still, 28 years old. Melvin Ingram still a possibility, and at 32. On top of Ryan Kerrigan, a guy that we have talked about who would be a cheap option and potentially a rotational guy. Justin Houston, available from Baltimore. He doesn't look like he'll be going back there after the move they made for Zadarius Smith. So he is definitely going to be an available option for the San Francisco 49ers. Those are the main guys that we have talked about. Alex Okafor still available as well. Everson Griffin, a little bit older gentleman. I don't know if he has necessarily the speed. There's still obviously Arden Key that's sitting out there as a rotational guy. Jordan Willis, San Francisco 49er, still a rotational guy. We'll see. So a lot of names, a lot of possibility and potentiality. Will the 49ers be going after any of these guys? I don't know. There is a lot of talent in the draft at the edge rushing position.
I kind of expect them to, if it's affordable, go Arden Key and Jordan Willis.
Okay.
And just run back who they got. Samson Ebicom as an edge rusher. Javon Kinlaw to fill the role of DJ Jones. Then they went ahead and signed Hassan Ridgeway as well to be a depth piece, and that might be the moves that they make, and they might spend some money on safety with Jaquiski Tart. Would I love for them to go with one of these other edge rushers? Yeah, but I think if they brought back Key and Willis, I think they're feeling pretty comfortable about their defensive line group, and they could also address it in the draft as well, especially if they're able to flip Jimmy Garoppolo into some sort of a swap to get up into the 40s. Maybe they could get AK or somebody like that from Penn State, or Boy Mafi. You know what I mean? I like that guy.
I know you like Boy Mafi. I know you're a big fan of the AK, Ant. Mr. Corey, Clowney is the most overrated player in college and pro in the last decade. Dude lives off of splash plays, or as Ant says, lives off of one play.
He lives off of one play. He does. I mean, the helmet flying off when he played at South Carolina, he lives off of. He's a base 4.3 guy, but I don't think the sack numbers are there to warrant the double-digit money contracts that he gets. The rumor is New England's in on him, so we'll see what happens if New England decides to go in on him. That would be a little surprising to me, but we'll see which team is willing to give him his 1-year deal worth $10+ million.
Very true, Ant. John Paul says, who would you like to sign next? O-line, edge, wide receiver, or safety?
Who would I like to sign?
I think position is what he's talking about.
Position, I really think that they need to go. I think they need to lock in their safety position, whether that is Jaquiski Tart or somebody else, because I don't think they can go into the year with Tavares Moore coming off an Achilles and Talanoa Hufanga, who hasn't developed enough in the coverage area. So I would go safety, but I mean, what would I love to see? I'd love to see them make a splash move at the wide receiver position with somebody that has top end speed to really help Trey Lance get the ball down the field and open things up underneath for Ayuk, Debo, and Jawan Jennings.
Very true. I like that as well. I think the realistic options are safety or O-line. I think those are the realistic options. The Niners have shown that they've been shoring up rotation and shoring up secondary sort of help, as well as just interior defensive line. So I think shoring up the O-line with depth or shoring up the safety room with a potential starting name is what seems like the most likely situation for the 49ers. because I know we know we got Juwan Jennings sitting there that they're ready to sign. His tender is getting ready to sign, or some sort of contract extension being worked out with him. So they have what they feel is their best 3 wide receivers coming back into the fold already. I don't think they're necessarily in a rush to fill out the rest of the wide receiver room, which I think is unfortunate because I would prefer they go out and make a big splash there, or a big splash at the edge position. I know someone that just a little bit ago said, I really, really wanted Chandler Jones. They didn't do that, most likely looking like draft. That could be the case.
Yeah, and then I seen Lou said, how much do you think Sue would cost? With Ndamukong Suh, I think it depends on if he gets priced out of Atlanta. I mean, at Tampa Bay.
Tampa, yeah.
If he gets priced out, then you have to think he's a possibility. And is he ring chasing? Because if he's not ring chasing, someone's going to pay him $7, $8, $9 million a year. If he's ring chasing, he'll take under $5, or $5 million. So it depends on his mindset. He's getting older. Could he just want to win another Super Bowl? I don't know. He won one with Tampa Bay. It might not be high on his list. It could be just money. And if that's the case, he's going to want to optimize his abilities. So somebody's going to be willing to pay him. Maybe someone from the AFC West, because it seems like they're paying everyone. Or maybe the Bills. They might have a couple $1 million left, from all these other contracts that they have left.
You ain't wrong, Auntie. You are definitely not wrong. Michael asked, do you guys think the Niners suck every year at free agency as a whole? I would say no. Last year was a solid free agency period, I thought. I thought you made the right moves. I mean, you brought in guys that helped you get back to an NFC Championship game. I thought at last year's free agency period was phenomenal. We kept hearing from everyone how the Niners were going to let Trent Williams walk. They were going to let Kyle Juszczyk walk. They were going to let all of these great players go, and they brought pretty much all of them back. They were able to bring this roster back as a whole, draft guys as well. I thought free agency went really well last year. It just hasn't necessarily gone the way everyone hoped it would go this year.
Yeah, I think it's been hit and miss, during their tenure. Of course, in 2017 they overpaid. 2018 they overpaid for players like Jerick McKinnon. 2017 was Pierre Garçon. They've did things to try to change this roster, and a lot of times injuries were those concerns. Sometimes it was players that just didn't pan out. Like a case for Quan Alexander, it's not that he was a bad player that they paid a lot for. It was the fact that they ended up hitting Dre Greenlaw in the draft, and that Fred Warner ascended to be an all-pro kind of player. So they didn't need him anymore. They knew they needed a big-time linebacker, but they ended up getting him through draft and development, so they had to move on there. I think that sometimes it has been hit and miss, and then sometimes it was good. And I think last year being able to retain all their players because of the low salary cap, it made it good, and it was probably their best offseason that they had, potentially.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Mr. Corey, do you guys want Tart back? I do. He also said Tavares Moore can't tackle. Hufanga can't cover. Tart does both. This is why we like Jaquiski Tart. I think the tandem with him and Jimmy Ward is fantastic. It's phenomenal. If you can upgrade it with a bigger name and not have to necessarily overpay to do it, or a better player, then great. If you can't, then Jaquiski Tart seems to be the best option.
Yeah, I think so. And we got a super sticker or a super gift or something.
Super sticker hype $4.99 from Michael Caldwell. Get hype TCC.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
We appreciate that. We appreciate the super sticker. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would have said before Norman, the Niners would never again sign Sue. I think the Dominican Sue. I'm not sure what you're trying to get at.
Yeah, probably trying to say they would never have signed Sue, but now they brought in Josh Norman, it makes it even more of a possibility, because Norman was known as one of those guys you didn't really want on your roster. I think the Niners are very confident in their locker room and the locker room chemistry. So when they bring somebody in, they feel like they can make them fit. I think in Ndamukong Suh, you would normally have concerns about his personality, but he played for Chris Kaserik before a couple of times. So Kaserik has got a handle on what Ndamukong Suh is and who he is. So they would only make that decision if they felt it was a good decision. Plus, Ndamukong Suh is up into his late 30s now. He's definitely learned a lot of things along the way. He's not the same young player he was when he was in Detroit.
Not wrong there. He's definitely a different player. Jerome Spat, what do y'all think about Jarvis Landry? I think good guy in terms of route running in the room. I think possession receiver, Kendrick Bourne-esque role in this offense fits very well. I just don't think the Niners are looking for that, and he definitely doesn't have the top end speed that I know I would like in the wide receiver room. If you're looking for a vet presence and someone to do some of the similar things that we saw out of Juwan Jennings, maybe not in the blocking aspect, but route running and getting open, it makes sense if in that sort of Emmanuel Sanders hybrid-esque role. I just don't think the Niners are looking for that in their wide receiver room at this point in time.
I think it's kind of a duplicate of Juwan Jennings, what he adds to this, this offense. Landry's better than Juwan Jennings right now, but I think that they're somewhat duplicate there. So are you going to spend that money there? Or would you rather spend it on an MVS, or somebody that can take the top off? Will Fuller, for instance. I think that's the route the 49ers should go, unless they go with someone like Cordero Patterson who can do both. in which case I think it could kind of kill two birds with one stone.
Very true, Ant. Very, very true indeed. Look, Cutback Crew, I know this is not the way anyone wanted free agency to go, Ant. We wanted big names. We wanted splashes. We wanted Jimmy Garoppolo trades off the jump. Has not happened yet. It still could happen.
Yet.
There is still time to hold out for hope. If y'all don't know this, free agency doesn't just end, and it doesn't just end. All of these free agents, especially if they don't sign somewhere, can still be signed at any point in time. And it does seem like there's a handful of guys, Ant, that at this point in time are waiting for dominoes and pieces to fall, and that could benefit the 49ers.
And there's a rumor that the Vikings are trying to trade Danielle Hunter as well.
That is true.
So keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. That could be an option for San Francisco. Definitely could be. We'll see what the numbers look like, Ant, and what they're looking to get for someone like that, and what the idea is there to move off of him. But look, at the end of the day, I'm still excited about what the offseason has presented us. I'm still excited to see what you're going to get back from Jimmy Garoppolo and that trade and that situation. I'm still excited for all the possibilities for the San Francisco 49ers because free agency is nowhere close to being over.
No, it's not. And what that means is anytime that something happens, you can expect to see us. It will be one of us. It has been Alex. It has been me. It has been both of us. We're gonna try to bring it to you. We're gonna try to talk to you guys about it. So anytime something happens, you know we're gonna get on it. So come back to the channel, check it out. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you have, click that notification bell. If you've done both, well, I'm just looking forward to seeing you in chat because I know you'll be here. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm excited about the rest of free agency as the 49ers continue to build. Do we understand the plan? No. Will it reveal itself at some point? Hopefully.
God, I hope it does, Ant, because if it doesn't,
yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious almighty, we are never going to hear the end of it. No one is going to hear the end of it. John and Kyle definitely won't hear the end of it either. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the plan unfolds itself into. We'll see if Deshaun Watson finally makes a decision or if teams just decide it's best to walk away. This man wants to be somewhere he cannot be. He must not be that serious about playing football right now. We'll see what happens. We'll see how that impacts San Francisco. We'll see if there's a big name they bring in. But Ant said it all already. Make sure you do all of that. Join the Cutback Crew today. If you want extra content, additional stuff as well, can join here. Channel membership on YouTube. Can join over on Patreon as well. There is going to be some more Madden League that drops tonight for our patrons and our channel members. So buckle up and get ready for that, especially since there's not a lot of news happening right now. Give you some additional content, Patreon. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what you think. You know something's about to drop just because you said that.
I hope that happens, and that's part of the reason I'm kind of hoping it speaks itself into fruition. So yeah, we'll catch you guys later. If there's more news tonight, you know where to be. Right here on the 49ers Cutback, because we will be going live immediately if any more news breaks.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. I'm looking for the rest of free agency. But until then, we're going to be out. So you know what time it is, Alex? Let's chalk another one up.
Catch you all on the next one, TCC. Hopefully it's good news.